Hi everybody, happy Valentine's Day, happy love day, welcome, welcome. We're gonna watch some serious video. Cause if I don't ruin the mood by serious videos, I don't know what I'm doing here. We're gonna be watching some real life, serious talk, psychology stuff to help you stay safe out there because there's a lot of psychos out there looking for serious relationships. But I think that this one might be important. I have not watched them, by the way. I'm experiencing these videos with you together.
For a stable partner, you
How
might
to
think,
know
well,
that you're
what do you want in a
incompatible with
stable
the
partner?
person.
And at least in principle, one of the things you don't want is too much mismatch between you and that person on the 5 fundamental dimensions. So for example, if you're really extroverted and you have a really introverted partner,
Is that why they say, Kurt, that men are hunters?
you're going to engage in continual conflict about how much social activity the two of you should subject yourself to. And it's very, very difficult for people who broadly differ, widely differ on those dimensions to come to consensus, because it's not just a matter of opinion, right? It's really a matter of different, if you're looking at extremes, of really different types of people. And the thing about introverts is they just don't enjoy large-scale social interaction that much. One-on-one, they're often fine, but in a group, they don't like that, and it tires them out. Whereas a real extrovert, it's like you isolate them and they just wither on the vine, because a huge part of what actually motivates them in a positive way is tangled up with social interaction. And so if you're an agreeable person and you have a particularly disagreeable partner, you're also going to run into problems, because the agreeable person will say whatever you want whenever, and the disagreeable person will say, well, I'd like to know what the hell you want for a change. And
so opposites might attract each other, but that does not mean that they're compatible.
Be much more harsh and much more demanding in the situation. And the agreeable person is going to find the disagreeable person harsh and unpleasant. And the disagreeable person is going to find the agreeable person wishy-washy and unable to stand up for themselves. And again, that's actually one of the primary sources of tension between men and women, because women tend to be higher in agreeableness than men. It's about half a standard deviation, which is quite a large difference by psychological standards.
And
so what that means fundamentally, just so you have some sense of how large an effect that is that if you have a group of men and women and you pick out random pairs, the woman is going to be more agreeable than the man 60% of the time. So that's not an overwhelming proportion, but it's reliable, and it's quite large by psychological standards. So there's the problem with agreeableness. With conscientiousness, if you're conscientious, you're industrious and orderly. And orderly people seem to be sensitive to disgust, which is something we'll talk about in detail later. We've had a hard time specifying exactly what makes industrious people industrious, because it's hard to come up with an animal model for that sort of thing, and there's no theoretical model. But
since we're coming up with models and we're in the topic of farts, I'm sorry, I have to ask Chance a question. Can you distinguish between the fart smells, what they've eaten? Can you say if they've eaten chicken or pork based on the farts? Darcia, hello. Good elaboration from Dr. Peterson. Oh, you like him too?
Welcome
to the stream, by the way,
Darcia. It's not my idea, it's actually the idea of my graduate student, Christine Brophy, is that industrious people find it unpleasant and unsettling to not be doing something. So it isn't so much that industriousness makes them happy or fills them with positive emotion. That would be more extroversion, right? Because extroversion is the positive emotion dimension. It's that industrious people can't stand sitting around doing nothing. And you know, this is speculation, but human beings are obviously always engaged in the exchange of labor, especially the reciprocal exchange of labor. And you can imagine that in a community where everyone knows everyone, the people who work hard are going to be pretty irritated on a fairly chronic basis with the people who are completely unproductive. My suspicions are that plenty of people who were completely unproductive in the history of the evolution of our species were wiped out by people who were unhappy with their lack of productivity. And so
it's not only that, I feel like these same type of people, you might be living around them or with them, and you might be productive, but then you allow yourself to rest maybe 1 or 2 days, or however much you decide to give yourself a rest. And then they feel irritated with you resting because they never rest. So in their heads, like, everybody needs to be the same.
So I think, generally speaking, human beings have this sense of ethical obligation with regards to one another to share labor. And people who are conscientious really, really feel that. So they feel bad if they're not busily working on something that's productive all the time. And so the advantage to being with someone conscientious is, well, they're going to work like mad, but the disadvantage is they're going to work like mad. So, you know, if you're looking for a partner that you want to relax with or have fun with, or who isn't uptight, then a conscientious person is probably not a very good choice.
Also, maybe that's a person who kind of like runs away from themselves, because if they're left to their own feelings and thoughts without any work tasks that they can do, maybe away from work, if they get fired or like put away for 2 weeks, then they can get very, very irritated sometimes, maybe, and not really into working with their own issues and improving their character. It's like the job is an escape, you know what I mean?
On the other hand,
It's
if
not
you're a
always the case,
conscientious
but it's
person
my
and you're living with
observation.
someone who's really unconscientious, that's good because
Hey,
they
Bullet
might be able to
Master.
help you relax, but you're not going to be happy with them
Welcome.
because they don't work nearly as hard as you do. But even worse,
Exactly.
on the orderly dimension,
Nothing wrong
you know,
with resting.
some of you have had roommates and
Everyone
maybe
should
you're
respect
more
the other's
orderly than
way.
your roommate. What does it mean? It means you're annoyed by mess before they are. And you don't have to be annoyed by mess much before your less orderly roommate for you to be the one that's always running around picking things up. And so
Oof,
actually,
that's a
one
really
of the
bad
things that's
dynamic.
emerged from the psychometric analysis is that women are slightly more orderly
If
than
I'm
men.
on work,
And
I
I
get
suspect that has
irritated.
something to do with the inequitable distribution of housework. Imagine that your proclivity is to be triggered by disorder 25 seconds before your partner's. You're going to end up, it doesn't
Lord, my mom was like that. Like my mom's standards used to be, let's say I'm frying something on the oven, like I don't know if it's called an oven or the like the upper part of the oven. I don't know what it's called. I'm frying something in the pan, right? And I'm making myself food and I put it in the plate. And that was back in the day. I don't live with my mom, thank God. But I'm like cooking, putting my food in the plate, and then in my head, I'm going to sit down, eat my food while it's still warm, and then clean up. In my mom's head, that's a big no, no, no. It's like first you gotta clean up everything that you've used, and only then you can sit down and eat. Doesn't matter that the food is cold or whatever, or if you're like hungry or not. It was a nightmare. In general, he's right. Yes. Stove. Yes, thank you. Habo Truffle, welcome. Happy Valentine's to everybody. Is anyone celebrating tonight? Orderly is good. Wish we men were more. I know some men who are like even more orderly than women. Um, it's good. I also think that if it's like going on the crazy end of the spectrum, then it tends to be hard to live with. Because some people literally expect to live in a museum like everything is pristinely clean 24/7 all the time. And that's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But you can expect the same level of cleanliness as your partner unless you pick them for that trait. And then good. But usually those things don't match naturally. Messy? Your mom is messy? That must have been comfortable growing up, wasn't it? I was the one imposing the order. Where did you learn the order, Possum? Who gave you an example of order and you liked it and you were like, oh, okay, I want to be like this and I want more of this in my home. The history of a perfect man. Mullet Master, are you celebrating Valentine's? Would you say that you have a big mouth? What? What do you mean? What is this question? I celebrated online with a Bulgarian DJ online, but it's a secret. Ooh, that sounds fun. What do you mean I have a big mouth? Darcia, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome, welcome. You mean I'm sharing stuff that I shouldn't be sharing, or what did you mean with that? I kind of like your mom's perspective to keep things clean before you sit, but I think it's best if you clean up things during the cooking process. You can do it back to back. Well, no, because if you're like frying a fish, let's say, there's no way you can wash that frying pan in time before the fish just goes poof. And now it's not crispy on the top anymore. It's like all mushy. And what's the point of frying it anyway? And like washing a frying pan takes a while. It's not just like 10 seconds, you know? So that's not my kind of thing. And also, for me personally, and that's just me, I don't care if there's like a dirty pan or pot in the kitchen. That's not the end of the world. It's not like some Gestapo is coming to check my kitchen and be like, lady, you have a red carton fine because you have a dirty pan in the kitchen before you sit down eating, you know? To me, like, that's very, like, strangling and like, suffocating me. But then again, I live alone, so I get to have those choices. Their confessions? My mom doesn't care much about orderliness or cleanliness. My parents' places were always messy. How did you feel in that surroundings? Neurosis imposed the order in my life. The neurodivergence. I get it. So is it like super tidy in your house? Possum? My pleasure. Got to stick around. Oh, thank you. Critical thinkers. Yes. To my detriment sometimes because apparently, as Kurt asked, I do have a big mouth. I usually tend to keep my opinions to myself if I know that it's unsafe to express them. But man, sometimes I do express them even when I know that they won't be appreciated as long as I'm not hurting anybody. But sometimes you just gotta speak up, you know? And I just literally did that last week and 2 months ago. And yeah, a lot of critical thinking. Very healthy for mind, indeed. Stop playing possum. What? Why do you think that possum is playing? I've never fried fish, so I don't know what you're talking about. You know what? So I'm a very peculiar person when it comes to crispy stuff. I love my potatoes crispy on the outside and kind of like softer on the inside, and I like my fish to be fried and crispy on the outside and kind of like softer on the inside. And if you wait for that, have you ever wondered French fries and then it took them forever to bring them in and then they arrived and they were like tired carrots that are like 2 months old, and you try and eat that and it doesn't taste like anything that it's supposed to taste like. That's what I feel like after I wait for my potatoes that are fried or my fish that is fried to eat them, and then it's not tasty anymore. And it's not the same. It will never be the same. You should try frying fish, by the way. Try with the tsipura. By hello chat, greetings to all creatures in chat. Hi again, Kurt. Shall we have you with another cheers, Tintin? What are we drinking for? Shall we drink for radical acceptance of others without judging them too much? And especially like if it's stupid differences, if it's like dangerous differences where you have empathy and they don't and they just want to kill you, then you can still accept them but from afar. That's not what I meant. A radical acceptance and love for each other. Never, says possum. Looks at cookie sheet sitting on top of stove. A cookie sheet. Interesting. What cookies are those? Wait, my chat jumped again. I'm a bit of a badger myself. What kind of things are you burying your head under? House always tidy. That's nice. That's nice. My mom and that really like to fill the sink. Oh yeah, to the top before cleaning all the dishes. That really annoyed me when I lived with them because it looks disgusting and there was never space, so I tried to clean my stuff after I cook and eat. Yeah, me too, but then, sometimes I get busy and I don't get crazy in my head if I don't clean everything. But then, I mean, I'm trying to have like acceptance and empathy for myself, which I really didn't before, because like if before I didn't clean my plates right after and then I got super busy and didn't get to do it, I would just like feel shame and feel like I'm a less of a human being for not having pristine plates just because like my mom was such a freak in that term. But then again, maybe I just don't want to share everything in those regards with my mom because it's like her privacy as well. Big mouth's better than no mouth at all. I agree. With big mouths, you can have deep connections because you can share things and find the similar things and understanding. That sounds nasty, yes, but yeah. Okay, the nastiest thing that I ever seen that is like close to that, I'll never forget it because it was like way out of the possible spectrum that I had in my head without thinking that I have a spectrum in my head was when I went to a friend's place, and that was years ago, and she used to live with her boyfriend, and it's not like their sink was full of plates and everything. The nastiest thing was that she was cleaning the floor. If you're eating or drinking, cover your ears. You don't want to hear this. She was cleaning their floor with, like a piece of cloth and the bucket with the dirty water from the floor went over the dishes that were later to be washed and eaten from. And to me, that's like a big no-no. I was a child when I learned not to do that. So, yeah, we all have like deal breakers. For me, that's definitely a deal breaker. And I never, ever, ever, ever ate anything in her house ever again. I felt so shocked. Their mouth gets smaller with dreams. Is that true? Is that Joe? Oh no, Kurt, you posted a link and we can't see it. We only see like 3 stars. Oh lordy. Oh lordy. I'm a bit of a badger. Okay, I'm skipping. Soggy fries, exactly. Who wants that? I want a discount on soggy fries, but they never give you that. I mean, I've never asked, but that's a great way to put it. The Karen's French fries. Yes, I do prefer crispy and not so. Exactly, so you understand why I wash my stuff after I eat and not before. Recoil. Ooh, oh, that's a different Recoil. I thought of a different band with a Recoil song. Let me get it for you. And I'm almost finished reading chat so we can go back to the video. And I completely forgot what he was talking about before I paused. Just overall acceptance, I wouldn't put radical. I understand. On it, since it puts a twist, people were rather resistant to those days. Yeah, I know what you mean. Ooh, Kurt with the whiskey. Cheers, man. Again, I heard, I don't know if this is true and I don't know where this came from, but I heard that a true lady never says cheers more than once. I'm not a true lady, so cheers, cheers, cheers. Apparently. A few days ago, people got mad and said, I was called a fascist last week. So, and just to make sure I'm not one. So I know how that feels. Uttering Chinese poetry. Isn't that nice? At least it's not Chinese torture. Can clearly tell them weren't putting much of a thought at all. Yeah, some people love to just cite or recite titles that they've seen somewhere and not think any more than this. This emote is so lovely, Chance. You know what it reminds me of? Have you seen Salad Fingers? Or Cyanide Happiness? This dude smiling with the blood thing looks like the Salad Fingers needles guy, you know? I don't know if you've seen that. I think you feel like you felt shame or bad because it was coming from your. Yeah, that's like the super ego. The super ego, and before I had like radical acceptance of myself. And you were looking up to her more. I think it's about relationship. It would people would be more flexible about dishes. I mean, yeah, sometimes people get fixated on the non-important stuff just so they can reject you, even if on the important stuff you're like, great. Smells fishy! I don't even want to know what it smelled like in that sink. I'm telling you, I was so traumatized because the water as well was like freaking black. And they have a cat too. I love cats, but like it's almost like eating all the dirt from the floor. And maybe because like in my studies, in the medicinal chemistry studies, we did a lot of lab work. And I'll never forget we had this one lesson where we were given like an open exercise to go to the place that we think that there's most microbes and viruses and stuff like that. Mostly bacteria, not viruses. And of course, all of us thought, the toilet has the most microbes. The results were that the bottom part of our shoes, I forget what it's called, the podmetka, like the floor basically and the bottom part of our shoes has the most microbes and bacteria from every other place that you can imagine, even more from the toilet. So that was after my studies and I felt completely shocked. We're gonna get now let's get loud. Ooh. Listen to the story. Hold on. While I'm reading chat, at least we can listen to some music, because I'm taking forever to read your chats. You aren't a true lady. I'll remember that for other future questions. It was a self-deprecating joke because I say cheers a lot, because I love saying cheers, because I love celebrating. I don't know. Ooh, you know, salad fingers. What do you remember from salad fingers? For me, it's that nettles thing and the "you're too gooey, I shan't play with you anymore." That knows about salad finger. Limp Biscuit starts singing "Psycho Female." I don't blow up your phone, land, though. Oh, what happened to the song request? This song lyrics reminded me of Chance's postcard for Valentine's Day. If you're not on the Discord and we're continuing with the video, you should see that one. It's on there. Chance, that was very beautiful. And that's for you, yeah. It was so pink. But hey, I'm a lady. I can't. I'm a little lady, you know. We can't be discussing such things at a lady channel on a lady makeup day with black clothing and a Valentine's Day. Shall we go back to the video now? Can we do it? Do I have your agreement? Darcy said, "Where are you from in the world, if I might ask? Also, did you come with the raid? If the bottom of our shoes is the most dirty part, it has the most microbes. Yeah. How is the best way to deal with that? Don't wear shoes at home, definitely. Definitely don't look at people in the movies who jump into bed with their shoes." And I understand some people might have shoes fetish. In terms of hygiene, maybe keep those shoes only for the home experience.
Doesn't take much difference for you to be the one that's always concerned about the mess first. Anyways, and so if you're a really orderly person and you live with a disorderly
Little
person,
lady.
well, good luck getting along with them. They're going to regard you as like uptight and over concerned with details and unwilling to relax, that's for sure. And they're going to regard you as, well, just a bloody mess. And how can anyone possibly live with someone like you? So another reason why it's useful to understand your personality is because I think it gives you a better crack at finding someone that you can actually live with over the long run.
Need
we don't know what the
if you want to have a
optimal. I don't think you want to live with someone who's exactly like you, because then both of you have the same strengths and weaknesses, and there's a bit of a problem there, right? Because maybe an agreeable person can use a bit of a disagreeable person around them to balance each other out, and vice versa.
No.
Right? So you don't understand.
Wait, what? What's happening? Lem, you got the mic for 2 seconds. What will you tell us about love? The stage is all yours, Lem. Tell us all your secrets about love and healthy relationships. Happy Valentine's Day, Lem. Thank you for recrawling us. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I've heard good things about Bangladesh. I've heard that you guys have a very good work ethic. Women's mind, no ban, please. Wait, what? Dirtiest parts are door handles, water tap, handles, and keys. Oh, and the phone screens. The phone screens. Especially of people who cannot part with their phone when they go to the bathroom. Not a very sexy topic anymore. Hi, Lem. Happy holiday. How are you doing?
The optimal balance for long-term thriving in a relationship, but I think we do understand the fact that if you're too different in your traits, that where you're different is going to constitute a chronic source of conflict.
Yeah, and somebody's going to cave, and usually it's going to be the agreeable person, who is usually the woman, so that's not good.
Maybe in one of your...
Wait, how did we get to psychopaths already? Let's go here because psychopathy.
That's another problem.
Psychopathy and narcissism have been growing rampant in our society in the last, I want to say, 18 years or so at least. I've been noticing this, and according to statistics, they are a very, very small percentage of society, but those are only the people who are registered, and those people usually don't go to therapy, so they're not registered. So I think that it's super important to stay safe out there, especially when you're looking for a partner. So we're going to listen to some of the signs of psychopathy and all that jazz, so you guys can stay safe and not get into relationships with these people, because they truly are dangerous. There are many aspects of this country, mostly of the agricultural and production sides. Ooh, work ethics is almost like wild, wild west. Really? So it's like a western sham then. That's why we were dispensers without touching. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Japanese people know about that from 2009. Oh, and doors that open without touching handles. Kurt, are you truly drinking whiskey tonight? If someone on the register list run. If only we could see those lists and those names. That would be awesome. Um, I don't know if in Bulgaria we have this politics. I know you, actually not you, but I know in the US and in some other countries, if there is some law, like some, what's the word for that? Not law, some lawsuit against a person, then that would go public, and then anyone who Googles their name will be able to see the background of that person. But I think in Bulgaria we don't have that. I'm not really sure. So we can't even go through background checks. Social media influences validation enabled the recent. Yeah, I was wondering if it was that while it was happening, and honestly, I don't know if it is. But you know what? I definitely think that social media allowed us to see more of the true colors of people. And influencers definitely developed that more. Yeah. And the validation trap, definitely. But true psychopathy and the true lack of empathy, I don't know if that is something that can be influenced by social media. I would love to see topics on videos on that topic. Um, Drinking red wine. Which type? What type? Cheers to all in chat, people. Cheers, Kurt, na zdrave. This is how we say cheers in Bulgarian. Love Lex Freedom. He has a very specific type of vibe. I remember watching his video of some OnlyFans girl, and they had like a good chemistry of the conversation was going good. But then I've watched videos of him trying to interview other people, and felt like he was almost absent and asking not the smartest questions that he could ask. So I'm kind of like on the Vizni. But yeah, he can be cool. I say. Lick all the doorknobs! I'm awaiting the next gif of an animated person in Discord licking doorknobs. I'm pretty sure Salad Fingers would totally do that. With nettles on top. Made a wig die early. Gypsy takeover. Oh, it sounds like Daya is worried about psychopaths. Did you have a past bad experience? I'll never say that. Never. Also, who hasn't by this point? Maybe in the 80s, people would have had some dating experiences, and maybe they had one person who went for milk and never came back. But mostly they would have more than one normal partner in their past. Nowadays, it feels like, have you ever had a normal partner before? I mean, everybody around the social media has had either narcissists or psychopaths or bipolar people or borderline personality people. So, not to hate them or anything, just like saying my observations. Is a bottomless pit of discussion, but only gets more interesting as well as headache inducing. You've dug deep into it, huh? I'm bipolar. I get angry for some reason, but then feel very composed on another critical situations like I'm a psycho. Maybe they're not as critical for you, because maybe could it be that you're familiar with those critical situations and that you know that you're not in real danger, so you like keep composed and calm. I tend to be very calm in stressful situations as well, and I used to be like that before I became a medic, so that allowed me to do that. I don't know if I'm like that anymore though. I don't want to know, sis Kurt. Sounds like you ADHD. I don't know. I could. or maybe you mean Kurt, like Kurt has AD or ADD, ADHD. No, but persons are in the museums, yes, or in therapy. I have a theory, and it's not just mine, that normal people go to therapy for things that toxic people did to them because they didn't want to go to therapy. So, I'd like to believe most people are normal. You must have been unlucky. No, I disagree with you. I don't think that most people are normal, sadly, anymore. Ah, who is normal nowadays? Also, how do we define normal? For us to have this conversation, first we gotta define the terms, right? For me, normal has been a replacement for healthy for a very long time. But the normal in society could mean someone who is more or less in the medium of statistics in terms of behavior. So it depends on what we're talking about. There is a Sagittarius probably. You know, my birthday was exactly when Sagittariuses draw their arrows. So that, yeah. Kurt, when is your birthday? Defining normal is another, but yeah, so we can have all the interesting conversations forever and ever, and they'll never end. Sid? Can I call you Sid? Just Sid? Or do you prefer Darcia? I don't think most people are psychopaths. I don't think most people are psychopaths either. But I don't think most people are healthy, sadly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. For that to be the norm. Well, yeah. Okay, let's go back to it. Lex Fridman podcast.
You're a great interviewer. I would love it if you interviewed somebody like Putin.
I agree.
So this idea that you are a fool in the face of psychopathy, it just doesn't jive with me.
I'm an agreeable.
I have like my own theory about society's health, and it might sound foolish, but I've had this theory for quite a while, and this is how I understand normal. So if you imagine different personality disorders and anxiety disorders and all these things that we deal with internally, maybe even obsessive compulsive and all these things that are like falling into the mental state category, if you imagine them each one being like a point of a circle, and for me the healthy or the normal person would be somewhere in the middle, because he is not pulled by any of these to like a great extent to where like now he has this mental disorder. He's like normal, and this is not an exact science, it's just like the way I visualize it when I try to explain what normal is in my head. Because yes, we all deal with anxiety sometimes, and we all deal with depression sometimes. It's normal to grieve after you lose something, and sometimes you grieve for a very long time. That does not make you sick. And so we're all pulled towards something or another, as long as we're not like completely there. For me, if you like know how to soothe yourself internally and have the self-awareness and the tools that you actually need to get out of those deep states that you can get into, then you, in my head, are normal. Earlier, women are more agreeable. He does that connect to his conversation? Yeah, he's stating that women are psychopaths. I see the equation. I know math. Most people have some sort of issue. I agree. Men's true nature is violence in this world is hell. I could see why you would make this statement, and I could see a lot of videos and facts that could support this statement. I don't know if men's true nature is violence or not, because I want to believe that men can be truly kind without trying to override their nature. You know what I mean?
Cheeky Breeki.
Cheeky Breeky Neighborhood Slav. Zdrasty, zdrasty. Good evening, happy Valentine's, yo. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for the resub. You get a balloon and a face sticker. How you doing? We're talking about deep topics in psychopathy in relationships. Have you had those? Don't comment on women or you might get banned. No, that's not how it goes here. I'm pretty open to ideas and conversations as long as you don't tell me to buy myself some makeup and buy a black dress because I'm not looking appropriately for stream. Putting effort is a very normal behavior, yes. I agree, Chicky Bricky. Doing horrible? Just lost your apartment today. What? Oh no! Can we send big hugs to neighborhood Slav? Feel free to tell us what happened. Do you have to like look for rent now? Like a new apartment for rent? How much time do you have? Um, that's horrible. I'm sorry you're going through that. Hugs to you. Let me give you a balloon. Kurt as well. Oh my god, Kurt, thank you for
Zaya,
months.
I want you. I want your emotes. And please buy some makeup. Deasalal rave deasi heartroll deasalal rave deasi heartroll deasi heartroll deasi heartroll.
Okay, now I have 2 face stickers. So I can have symmetry in my face so you won't call me sick. So you won't tell me to buy makeup to cover it up, you know? Provoke me. See, you're still not banned. Okay, guys, choose colors. I have white, I have pink, and I have purple. Those are the colors today. Which balloons would you like? There are more problems that have amassed over the week. The situation is quite severe, but well, it's what it is. Can I pray for you? Maybe not right now, but off stream. You give me permission to pray for your situation. How is the diet doing? I received the new medicine today, so now I'm officially on 7 medicine. And I've not been drugged that heavily, I don't think ever. But mostly I've not been drugged in years, so I feel very weird. But inside I'm super happy and chill and happy, yeah. You look great, I want pink, thank you. Neighborhood Slav, which color would you like? Let me put them stickers before I give you. Purple. Baby ain't nothing but mammals, so let's... I almost sang the whole thing. That's like boom, boom, boom. I want you in my room to spend the night together. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't really understand English because I didn't know English, and we were singing these things. And even when I didn't understand the words, I didn't understand what they mean. And then I grow up and I'm like, oh my god, that's what I was singing as a child? Did you say pink? Purple for neighborhood Slav. Drug, yes. Medicine, I mean, not like real drugs, but medicine. Pink for Kurt. Here you go. Woohoo! Drugs, not good drugs. Some of them are natural, so at least I'm happy about that. Some of them are vitamins that I'm lacking. But today I was given a real chemical. But yeah, I really hope and pray that your neighborhood Slav situation with the rent, some miracles gonna happen and maybe the situation can be reversed. I don't know. Ooh, what is this song? It's about to begin? Ooh! This sounds like Boys to Men type of lyrics. What? Chance, did you request this song? What is going on here? I'm not gonna say anything. Oh my god. Nikki, cover your ears. This is not righteous enough for you. Neighborhood Slav, the drill, those are always the topic of conversation on this stream. Accidentally so or not, I don't know. I'm not sure anymore. Armadillos. The cat. That cat is so judgmental. I love it. But yes, enjoy the emotes, Kurt. Let's have some rain of hearts for Kurt and Neighborhood Slav. If you guys have the emotes. If not, I'm gonna spray some hearts at you. And yeah, Neighborhood Slav, I truly hope and pray that your situation gets miraculously fixed. And if not, that you're able to find the even better place that you never even dreamed of in no time, with a good price and with good neighbors, and it's gonna be a peaceful and good place for you. Tis a love song. It sounded very one-sided love song. It finished like kind of unfinished, you know what I mean? Who sang this? It's too late for me to check, but I bet that Chance knows. Is that Weird Al Yankovic? Could have been, yeah. At a medium pace. Adam Sandler! Oh! Didn't sound like Adam Sandler, but yeah, I think that you've requested that before, so I kind of like was familiar with it. What is she doing? I want that hair so I can clone her in the future. What? What are we talking about? Look at that rain of love. I love it. The blonde chick from Venga Boys is cuter. Fight me now. I won't. I'll just be agreeable, nice, psychopathic woman. Sing away. I can't sing. I've only done like karaoke singing with you guys in gibberish Simlish, and we did this when we celebrated 1 year stream, and people in chat didn't understand that it's gibberish. And they were so quiet and nice and didn't laugh at me and didn't judge me, and then in the end they asked me what language is this, and I had to explain that it's gibberish, and then they felt safe to laugh. It was like at least 5 minutes later, maybe more. Okay, we're snoozing ads today. I don't care about ads. Thank you, Twitch. Honestly, I've been feeling like going crazy for a bit now. The threat of becoming homeless seems a good... No Neighborhood Slav. How long do you have until you have to, like, move? I'm worried about you. I thought it sounded like Adam Sandler. Oh, you did? So you have better sound recognition than me. Look at that Dia-Papaya spiral. We're spiraling. Want you back in my life. There you go. That's the most singing that you're gonna get. You'll be fine. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Are we ready to continue with the psychopathic video? Alice DJ is nice too, not just the Venga Boys girls. Sorry to cut the song short.
That's the problem. I'll give people the benefit of the doubt.
Right. But that's good, because the way you reveal psychopathy is by being agreeable, not weak, but seeking with empathy to understand the other person, and in the details, in the little nuanced ways that they struggle with questions, the psychopathy is revealed. So from we're kind of, just to separate the two things. So one, overrepresentation of psychopathy online with anonymity, that's a serious, fascinating problem. But in the interview, one-on-one, I don't know if the job of a human being in conversation is to not talk to psychopaths, but to talk. I mean, like, how would you interview Hitler?
Well, I've had very difficult clinical interviews.
There are ways to talk to them
in my clinical practice.
If you understand
how do you approach that?
Well, I really probably approach that the way I approach most conversations, and it's something like, I'm going to assume.
I was talking about that topic with a professional lady,
and if you
I mentioned the new to her term that she had never heard before because she's Bulgarian and she doesn't know English. I told her about narcopaths and she laughed at me so hard. But yeah, it's been termed for like a while now. People who like research narcissism and psychopathy have been noticing a lot of similarities and have been talking about this like mutual type of a person who can have both character traits and behaviors, and can switch from narcissistic personality disorder into secondary psychopath type of behavior. So because like psychopathy can be born psychopathy or like secondary, so they kind of like make these similarities, and they call it narcopath. I find it funny.
The odd crooked maneuver in, then I'll note it, and after you do it 3 times, I'll think, okay.
That professionals who practice don't even know about it.
I thought we were playing one game, but we're actually playing another one. And if I'm smart enough to pick that up, that usually works out quite successfully for me. But I'm not always smart enough to pick that up.
But see, here's the nice thing. There's a one-on-one conversation that's not recorded. Is different than one that's listened by a lot of people, because I would venture that I trust the intelligence of the viewer and the listener to detect even better than you.
Yes, and I think that's true, by the way.
To detect the psychopathy.
Yeah, I've had the odd interview with people that I wasn't happy with having organized, because I felt that I had brought their ideas to a wider audience than might have been appropriate. But my conclusion, and the conclusion of my producers and the people I talked to, was that we could run the interview, the discussion, and let the audience sort it out. And I would say they do. So I think as a general rule of thumb, that's true. And I also think that the long form interviews are particularly good at that, because
do you believe that he truly committed suicide?
A manipulative
Or did he leave afterwards and escape
especially if you're
to South America
for like 2.5 hours.
Yes.
You get tired, you get irritable, you show that you lose the track, you're going to start leaking out your mistakes. And
that actually is the case for all the world leaders. I would say 1 hour is too short. In something happens at like 2 hour plus mark where you start to leak, and I trust in the intelligence of the listener to sort of to detect that.
Where he
yeah,
was
and it might be the intelligence of the distributed crowd. And I mean, that is what I've seen with the.
Sometimes you can have like a really complex dynamic in a social circle where the most overt or the most abusive person, you think that everything is coming from them, but there's actually a psychopath or somebody behind the scenes that you might think that they're like a flying monkey, or they're not really that toxic as they are, but they're truly like manipulating the overt person in the middle who might be a narcissist, and controlling them. And it only takes you like forever to figure it out later. So that could be also a thing. Because I've heard that he was manipulated a lot. But I don't know. Okay, what's going on here?
YouTube interviews is that it's hard to fool people as such over a protracted period of time. And I guess it's partly because everybody brings a slightly different set of falsehood detectors to the table. And if you aggregate that, it's pretty damn accurate.
But of course,
sorry to pause again. I guess the question would be, was he born that way or did he become that way? And if he was born that way, he has like a better chance of being a psychopath. And if he was made, then he would be either secondary psychopath or a sociopath. Had many people filling his head with power trips. Yes, nowadays we see that history is not that clear cut. We see how easy it is to change history just in our own lifetime, just in the last 10 years. So imagine what 80 years are.
It's complicated because ideas of Nazi ideology spread in the 20s. There was a real battle between Marxism and Nazism.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe there's some attempts at censorship of Nazi ideology. Censorship very often does the opposite. It gives the fringe ideologies power if they're being censored, because that's an indication that the man in power doesn't want the truth to be heard. This kind of idea, and that just puts fuel to the fire.
It also motivates the paranoid types, because one of the reasons that paranoia spirals out of control is because paranoid people almost inevitably end up being persecuted, because they're so touchy and so suspicious that people start to walk on eggshells around them as if there are things going on behind the scenes. And so then they get more distrustful and more paranoid. And eventually they start misbehaving so badly that they are actually persecuted, often by legal authorities. And, you know, it's down the rabbit hole they go. And so, you know, Musk is betting on that to some degree, right? He believes that free expression
like Musk, by the way?
Twitter, X, will sort itself out and be
of
net benefit. And I follow a lot of really bad accounts on X because I like to keep an eye on
there's infinite bad accounts on
the pathology of the left, let's say, and the pathology of the right, thinking, at least in my clinical way, that I'm watching the psychopaths dance around and try to do what their subversion. And it's an ugly place to inhabit, that's for sure. But it's also the case that a very tiny minority of seriously bad actors can have a disproportionate influence. And one of the things I've always hoped for social media channels is that they separate the anonymous accounts from the verified accounts. They should just be in different categories. People who will say what they think and take the hits to their reputation. Anonymous types, if you want to see what the anonymous types say, you can see it, but don't be confusing them with actual people, because they're not the same. We know that people behave more badly when they're anonymous. That's a very well-established psychological finding. Well, and I think the danger to our culture is substantive. I think the reason that everything started to go sideways pretty seriously around 2015 is because we invented these new modes of communication. We have no idea how to police them. And so the psychopathic manipulators, they have free reign. About 30% of the internet is pornography. A huge amount of internet traffic is outright criminal. And there's a penumbra around that.
What about the darknet?
Psychopathic, narcissistic, troublemaking trolls. And that might constitute the bulk of the interactions online. Mm-hmm. And it's partly because people can't be held responsible. So the free riders have free reign.
I agree about that, Nikki. I completely found it ridiculous, but also wasn't surprised when he was exposed as a fake gamer. That was so weird to watch. But yeah, you liked him until then, and now you don't like him anymore? Now he feels sussy. Mm-hmm. There are videos where you see Hitler tweaking on some marches, where he's tweaking hard on... Oh, you mean like twitching? Do you mean twitching? Like... Also, Boris Yeltsin, where he seems drunk, but he's actually on cocktail of drugs, but keep him online so he can keep the routine. Some of the US presidents as well. I gotta say, I have not dug deep into the life of Hitler. I've never felt that pull to know more about him because of his aura. And maybe I should. Maybe I should. Let's not get into political drugs. Why not? It's easier to understand Dr. Peterson, but understanding Musk... Yeah, he's very unpredictable. I think you guys nipped it in the butt. He's unpredictable and a very awkward and feels like inadequate. And I don't know if it's coming from social anxiety. Because I've heard some conspiracies about his childhood. And it could be something in his past. Definitely not conspiracies, but like the mainstream stories that he didn't have a good childhood and bad relationship with his dad and all that jazz. But still, like, he's already at the age that with the intelligence that he possesses and with the available tools and finances that he has, he could have been healed from that. So I don't know if that's it, or maybe it's something else. Also, calling your children weird names like that, I don't know. Maybe he just thinks it's cool. I have no idea. It's weird to me. A good gamer is... which game did he do that in, by the way? I forgot. It's easier... Was it... Path of Exile 2? It's easier to understand... Oh, I read that. Oh, we're sadly in an outbreak that I cannot block. Oh yes, good gamer. Good study case. Give it a go someday. I definitely will. It'll be a lot of reading, because I think that once I dive into his life, I have to like read about the people surrounding him as well, and then that's very, very deep. You trust Musk. Would you put a chip in your head that he designed, Vankata? Musk has autism, it's known. Is that what it is? If you read Adolf's political speeches, he's great orator. Before he came in power. I've heard some of that before, but like years ago. I don't really remember much, but I agree with that. purely on the way he spoke, not the things that he was saying. The way I saw Musk originally was someone that wants to bring us to space and to make mankind better. I remember him since like way before he even talked about space, and I didn't trust him then. And I think that my distrust in him has been growing more and more as he's been growing his wealth and, I don't want to say control, but power, and to be one of the richest or maybe the richest man on earth. It's scary. I feel now he's more about power and advancing his business. It could be both, but he feels less trustworthy to me now. I mean, not to get political, but I kind of started thinking about him a little bit slightly more positively since he started working with Trump. Yes, he's on the spectrum. Oh, that would explain a lot. But I don't think, I don't know. I don't know. No, because every software could be hacked. That's good. That's good, Vankta. Правильно myslíš. But you said that you trust him, so how far does your trust extend in these terms? How do you define your trust for him? Do you mean like you trust the things that he says? Men's on the spectrum. I posted some TTS on the channel from Hitler's speech translated into English, and somebody exposed it and I got banned. Oh lordy. Did you get banned because they thought that you were like a true Hitler supporter and you're like a neo-Nazi? Just for the fact it's a Hitler speech. Yeah. How did they freaking recognize it, man? Was it something that is like a phrase that is very popular? He's just like Trump. Hitler? Or what's his name? Musk. I don't think that Hitler is like Trump. I don't follow what exactly Trump is doing. Yeah, I know. But doesn't it feel sussy that Musk being so close to the president feels a bit weird? Well, not if they share the same kind of ideals. It is sussy that rich men with such great wealth that they could probably put people in houses that are homeless and feed the hungry are keeping the money to themselves that they can never ever spend in one lifetime. Getting close to figures that have control and power, that is always sussy, but it's always been that way. At least like in our lifetime, I feel like. So it's nothing new, you know? At least he's for free speech. Other than that, I don't trust him anyway, so I don't know. People are more into systemic hate than primordial studies. That I got banned for being a nat. I got banned. I got called a fascist for believing that a country can have its borders, and if somebody commits a crime inside those borders and they were there illegally, then if the powers that control the country decide to bring them back to where they came from, is okay. So apparently that makes me a fascist. She should know. I wasn't called a Nazi though. I probably was.
It's a fascinating technical challenge of how to make our society resilient to the psychopaths on the left and the right.
Yeah. It might be the fundamental problem of the age, given the amplification of communication by our social networks.
And
finding whom to
generalize
hate
across
so they can unite
psychopaths,
in
you could also
hate
think about
because
bots.
they don't have any other touching points,
which behave similar
connect
to
on.
Psychopaths in their certainty and not caring. They're maximizing some function. They're not caring about anything else.
Have been uncovered.
Short-term attention, even worse.
I mean, people are more mad about him being in the Oval Office with his son than they are about the fact that the Dems sent tens of millions or 10 million, I don't remember the exact number, of dollars to a terrorist organization. They don't care about that. Native Paradise, we already have the best viewers in chat. Thank you, bot. You have every right to be a nationalist. I mean, as a Bulgarian, it's very hard not to be, man. We were slaves for 500 years, and our neighbors have the same ideals, and I wouldn't want to be raped and tortured and slaughtered just because I believe in Jesus, you know? So we have to have borders, and if our survival depends on it, I can see how that can happen elsewhere. And of course, I support borders. I support peace. And with some neighbors, you can sadly not have peace. I'm not saying this about Turkey, but I'm saying potentially it could happen one day, and I don't want this to happen. Isn't it sussy that people are screaming about him, but not the billions of dollars that have already been uncovered? Is it billions already with the US aid, by the way? I didn't follow the numbers, but it sounds like a million here, millions there, many millions there. It's kind of crazy. You have every right to be a nationalist. Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to love your country. Free speech unless someone criticizes gameplay. Did he ban people for that? I don't know the lore. Did he silence them? I think someone was saying that he got mad, but he never like responded. But that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've not followed the issue. Let's listen, not argue. We're talking. We're not arguing, are we? Hi, Poppy. Wait, did Poppy come in? Where'd you see Poppy? I don't see Poppy in chat. Relatable. We are slaves too once. Oh, yes? Tell us about your history. I don't think I know anything about your history. Educate us a little bit. Let's not talk about national borders and... Why not? I'm not scared. Turkey might invade us again this year. Oh god, no. Oh god, no. Listen! Братя християни, трябва да сме сериозни. Не трябва да се позволява това да се случва отново. He removed Asmon's checkmark on X for getting credit. But it wasn't just Asmon, it was a bunch of different guys, and Asmon just literally just viewed the video. He took his... Is that real? I mean, are we really surprised for a man who paid a bunch of money to be viewed as one of the best gamers out there, that his ego is that fragile that he had to like do revenge, Asmo? Now I'm gonna take your V sign. That's funny. That's so childish. People don't know that we were allies with the Nazi Germany, Italy, and Japan. But the king saved us, though. And they killed our king, man. They poisoned our king, and then he came back to Bulgaria and he died a slow death. The Nazis killed him. We were a colonial country under British East India Company. Ooh! Like many other Asian regions. Yeah. When German forces came to Dunov, you're going to wreck your... We are going to wreck you unless you sign in with us. Yeah. There's like also an element of Russians coming in at the right time. But it was tough times, man. At least Bulgaria is one of the countries that didn't sell out their Jews. Osman versus Musk was hilarious. Yeah, it was really funny that he leaked some messages as well. I didn't really watch those videos thoroughly, but I just read and watched a little bit, and it was a little bit funny, like an old girlfriend fight that they had with Osman. Took the hit for just reacting. Quinn didn't get... yeah, because Osman is big. And maybe you know what that means. Maybe that means that Musk secretly loves Osman and he was like deeply hurt. His ego was like a little bruised. He took the hit. Osman always takes the hit. He takes the hit on Twitch. He takes the hit on X. Everybody feels like... Because he doesn't give a shit, man. And even more balls to him. So many people have come against him and he's just unshakable. I love that. Muslim invasion that held all of Europe. I've heard some story where Denmark saved some of the people as well, but yeah. Bulgarians, we were once an empire, hey? I literally watched some AI video, and we're continuing with the video. I watched some AI video some days ago of what would have happened in our Bulgarian history if the Ottoman Empire never ruled us. It was so cool to watch. I think I reposted it on TikTok, so if you follow me on TikTok, check out the reposts. It was cool to see. 500 for that. After that, big powers divided our lands. Yeah, and communism. Gotta love fucking communism.
Yeah, because you might, that's another problem.
Excuse my French.
If the algorithms are maximizing for the grip of short-term attention, they're acting like immature agents of attention, right? And so then imagine the worst case scenario is negative emotion garners more attention, and short-term gratification garners more attention. So then you're maximizing for the grip of short-term attention by negative emotion. I mean, that's not going to be a principle. If we were talking earlier about, unsustainable unifying axioms, that's definitely one of them. Maximize for the spread of negative attention, negative emotion that garners short-term attention. Jesus, brutal.
I tend to not think there's that many psychopaths. So maybe to push back a little bit, it feels like there's a small number of psychopaths.
3 to 5% is the estimate worldwide
in terms of humans. Sure, but in terms of the pattern of stuff we see online, my hope is that a lot of people on the extreme left and extreme right, or just the trolls in general,
in a lot of cases,
are just young people kind of going through the similar stuff that we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's insane.
Trying on the cynicism and the resentment. There's a drug aspect to it. There's a pull to that. To talk shit about somebody, to take somebody down. I mean, there is some pleasure in that. There's a dark pull towards that, and I think
that's the sadistic pull.
And I think a lot of people, I mean, you see, when you say sadistic, it makes it sound like some kind of, it's a pathology.
It's pleasure in the suffering of others.
Right. But I just think that all of us have the capacity for that. All humans have the capacity for that.
Yeah, some more than others, but everyone to some degree.
And when you're young,
talking about the dark
you
triad?
Don't understand the full implications of that on your own self.
Yeah.
So if you participate in taking other people down, that's going to have a cost on your own development as a human being. Like it's going to take you towards the Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground, in the basement, cynical, all that kind of
stuff.
Which is why a lot of young people try it out. The reason is you get older and older, you realize that there's a huge cost to that, so you don't do it. But there's young people So like I would like to sort of believe and hope that a large number of people who are trolls are just trying out the derision.
No doubt.
And then so they can be saved. They can be helped. They could be shown that there's more growth, there's more flourishing to celebrating other people. And it actually and criticizing ideas, but not in the way of derision, LOL.
Or asking about himself
formulating your own self in the world by formulating your ideas in a strong, powerful way, and also removing the cloak of anonymity and just standing behind your ideas and carrying the responsibility of those ideas. Yeah,
I think all of that is right. I think the idea that that's more likely to occur among young people, that's clear. People, as they mature, get more agreeable and conscientious. So we actually know that what you said is true technically. It's definitely the case that there's an innate tilt towards pleasure in that sort of behavior, and it is associated to some degree with dominance striving. And I do think it's true, as you pointed out, that many of the people who are toying with that pattern can be socialized out of it. In fact, maybe most people. The repeat criminal types tend to desist in their late 20s. So imagine that 1% of the criminals commit 65%
the same level of the
interview. So imagine that 1% are the people that you're really concerned with. They often have stable patterns of offending that emerged in very, very young, like even in infancy, and continued through adolescence and into adulthood. Have you
guys seen this movie? We gotta talk about Kevin. That was a hard watch back in the day, and every single time afterwards. If you have not, I definitely recommend it if you're interested in that topic. That really shows, especially that development in, I don't want to spoil the movie, but watching the development throughout the years, It's called We Have to Talk About Kevin.
In prison until they're in the middle of their late 20s, most of them stop. And that might be the easiest way to understand that, might just be delayed maturation. So
yes.
Are most people salvageable?
Some people can experience narcissistic personality disorder symptoms.
Is everyone
and even
salvageable?
Psychopathic in teenage
well, at some
years.
point it becomes...
And it's almost like a normal stage for development.
That's a problem. But then it also becomes something like,
why am I playing with this thing? I don't know.
How much resources are you going to devote to that? Like, the farther down the rabbit hole you've gone, the more energy it takes to haul you up. So there comes a point where the probability that you'll be able to get enough resources devoted to you to rescue you from the pit of hell that you've dug is zero.
The way that Lex is looking
and
at
that's a very sad thing, and
Jordan
it's
right
very
now,
hard to be around
like,
someone who's in that
me
situation.
That I'm not a
very, very
psychopath.
hard.
I'm so scared right now.
And it seems that it's more likely that the leaders of movements are going to be psychopaths, and the followers of movements are going to be the people that we're mentioning that are
between 16 and
kind of
26,
lost themselves in the ideology of the movement.
Well, we know that what you said is true even historically to a large degree, because Germany was successfully denazified. And it's not like everybody who participated in every element of the Nazi movement was brought to justice. Not in the least. The same thing happened in Japan.
We need to tell him so he can get the salvation.
To some degree, the same thing happened in South Africa. Oof. Right? And it's the case, for example, also in the stories that we were referring to earlier, the biblical stories.
By the way, I was just going to bring this up. I've watched Jordan Peterson's, as I said, like from years ago, before he was even talking about biblical stuff and God. I remember people asking him if he believes in God or not, and at the time he was saying like, no. I just noticed his what do you call this, blazer has like biblical drawings on it, and I think these years, because this is probably like a newer video, probably from the last year or so, 3 months ago, I think that he is a believer now. I'm not really sure if he's a Christian or not, what type of a Christian he is, but it was really nice to see that he found God, and now he's talking about biblical stories, and that's always interesting because they're usually very explanatory to dynamics and different personality disorders and experiences, and how people get in these trenches of mental illness, or the choices that they make that get them in trouble, you know? It's always good examples to draw from.
It's the patriarchs of the Bible. Most of them are pretty bad people when they first start out. Like Jacob's a really good. Jacob is the one who becomes Israel. He's a major player in the biblical narrative, and he's a pretty bad actor when he first starts out. He's a mama's boy. He's a liar. He steals from his own brother, and in a major way he deceives his father. He's a coward, you know, and yet he turns his life around.
So be careful, the leaders you idolize and worship.
Lex is talking to himself in this interview. I'm sorry, convince me otherwise.
And who's the evil?
Yeah,
that's hard.
Now, how do we spot them so we don't date them, chat?
Know those people. No comment.
Here's something. The body never lies. And sometimes people who have this sadistic streak in specific topics that you ask them or you talk about with them, sometimes they have this urge to smile and they cannot control it. You'll see it. Sometimes they will like try to hold a smile, but they can't. They try to hide it, but they can't. And it's at the most weird
would you have hurt those
moments.
people?
Look at his face.
Why did you kill those people?
Look at his smile. That's a sadistic smile.
No comment.
He couldn't hold it.
I cannot answer that at this time.
So when will he be able to answer? At the time of this interview, he's been incarcerated for years.
Music. I'm sorry.
Ramirez doesn't want to answer because he wants to be the one who controls people's perception of him. And talking about his motivations would be way too direct. This passage is similar to when Ted Bundy was asked about one of his crimes, a particularly heinous crime.
Little Kimberly Leach, 12 years of age.
Oh, that's when we watched that one.
What did you feel after that? I can't really talk about that right now. That's who we are. Okay.
He was really going for the future, but the way he looks.
I can't really talk about that.
The modifying adverb really indicates that he actually can talk about it, but chooses not to.
I'm not a criminal. I mean, I've never really had no run-ins. A routine traffic check was that's what my that's what my criminal history consisted of. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a menace to society.
Just like Johnny Depp's trial and what was her name, there was this one moment, and I TikToked it back in the day when they were going through the trial. Her lawyer and somebody else were talking. She was like shot in the video, and they were talking about the moment. It was recorded, like it was a conversation between Johnny and her, Amber, and Johnny was like talking to her about, you punched me, and then she was like, no, I didn't punch you, or something of the sort, and her face was like, and then she tried to hold it, but she couldn't hold it. That was like in the early days of the trial. It was so freaking transparent. It was like they remember the moment, they enjoy the suffering that they inflicted, and they just can't. It goes out in the body.
Never really had no run-ins, Lundin says. Notably, he
Before
doesn't
we
say
choose
that he
another
hasn't had any
video,
run-ins.
okay.
His language indicates that he's had run-ins, just not really. However, he defines that. Unintentionally, then, his own language indicates that he's been involved in more than just routine traffic checks.
I can't really talk about that right now.
Look at his eyes.
The modifying right now is unreliable because this interview took place hours before Bundy's death, so there won't be any other time to talk about it. So, once again, what he's really saying is that he doesn't want to talk about it, especially in light of the facts that he's used this entire interview to associate with other people, making it sound like he's not that different from everybody else.
But basically, I was a normal person. I led a normal life, except for this one small but very potent and very destructive segment of it. I was okay. I was.
Thus, this question is in opposition to Bundy's self-serving agenda with the interview.
But I won't be able to talk about that. Okay.
That look is exactly the look that I mean. Oh, I love that
Looking
he got
at Ramirez on mute, these aren't the expected facial expressions of someone who's just been asked a question about hurting people. These are the facial expressions of someone who enjoys the notoriety and getting to say no comment. This point's particularly clear when he's asked easy questions.
Do you have my lips and I'm touching them all the time.
No comment.
You're a special
politician or celebrity couldn't have said it any more self-importantly. With this, Ramirez can keep people busy speculating about him, whether he has emotions or not. The question is easy and simple.
It's almost like trying to bring the memory into the physical so you can feel it again physically and emotionally as well.
And the dangerous image he has to maintain.
I'm crazy for that. I don't think so.
As far as Satan is concerned, I believe in a malevolent being. His description eludes
Wasn't
me,
he an open
but
Satanist?
I have felt powers that are evil.
I met him shakedown. I made love with the demons within me.
I can only liken it to have been possessed by something so
A lot of people say this and we still don't take it seriously.
Almost like a separate entity inside.
Like all these kids that go and do school shootings, a lot of them afterwards would be like, the voice told me to do it. I couldn't stop myself from not doing it. I was forced to do it. It was the voices. And
people with prominent psychopathic traits will often refer to alleged evil forces outside themselves, albeit in varying degrees. Lundin went as far as writing that evil forces made him do what he did, so that it's not really his fault. Bundy's agenda in this interview is to portray himself as normal.
I was okay. I was.
So when he mentions the separate entity, it sounds like he's just a normal guy being exposed to forces outside of his control. This takes the focus, or some of the focus, away from what's essentially his own conscious and evil decisions. It's a way of sharing blame, as if there's a good side battling with the bad side. Investigators frequently use this two-persons tactic to get the suspect to confess.
That's the same thing that I have here on his table.
2 Chris's?
He has the same. What the heck?
2 Chris's? Okay.
What is the chance?
And you need to help help me know which Chris I'm looking at today and which Chris you really are.
The way he spoke.
When there's another person to blame, it's often easier to get the suspect to confess, as the suspect doesn't have to hold himself accountable.
His name, right?
Thus, Chris Watts can blame the other Chris for what he did to his family, even though the other Chris doesn't actually exist, obviously. There's only one. On the one hand, they do everything they can to be perceived as normal.
Thank you so much for
and
the
on
beaties.
the other hand, they draw attention to behaviors and statements that
the
show that
mayonnaise
they're anything
factory.
but normal. They're trapped between the false impression they want to give people,
especially the
that they're
table.
normal, jovial, relaxed, etc., and a constant,
Who the heck is
exaggerated need
Carla?
of attention and notoriety.
Oh, me and my parents, we had a great, they were not just my parents, they were my friends as well. And, yeah, I mean, my parents are, they were like, you know, we were a family. Sure.
There's been a misalignment between Lundin's statements and his aggressive facial expressions.
I'm not a criminal. I'm not a menace to society.
Oof, his eyes are so
showing
cold.
the danger right behind the mask. Literally,
Diamond
they're
Kid,
only
hello.
capable of pretending to be normal up until a certain point.
Happy Love Day.
Months before his crime, Madsen was interviewed about his endeavors. Even though the interview had nothing to do with psychopathy,
I don't know this guy.
he himself started talking about psychopaths. After his crime, psychologists concluded that Madsen was a psychopath.
I will after this video.
In the following, Madsen talks about
short.
psychopaths, but he's actually talking
You
about
see
himself,
what I mean? Oh, okay.
hinting at the crime he would later commit. Madsen visibly takes pleasure in talking about this subject.
You're aware of the fact, maybe,
Hope you're extra
that
good today.
psychopaths exist amongst us, human predators. And psychopathic people are often very charismatic.
Which
They
song,
are
Kurt? I don't
excellent
see
speakers.
one
They're
in the
convincing.
requests.
They are
Write it down.
having illusions of self-grandeur
Mm.
and have no
So
regard
narcissist.
for anyone else.
Psychopaths
he
love
talking
when they know
about
more
himself?
than they're letting on, and more than the people they're speaking with. Here, Madsen pretends to speak generally, while still leaving enough hints for people to think that he might be a psychopath. Madsen is known for being charismatic and convincing. That's how we got most of the world to believe that he could travel into space in a home-built space rocket, and get sponsors to finance that project, but which only showed the delusions of grandeur he mentions.
And he will try really to punish those people who have been under his spell. He will try to punish them afterwards by stalking them, by talking badly about them, all these things.
Bad-mouthing former colleagues and sponsors is exactly what Madsen did. Colleagues and sponsors who had stopped working with Madsen due to his anger, willfulness, and disregard for safety procedures. The idea that he's actually talking about himself is further underlined by the fact
Makes
that
you
the
wonder if
details
he's
he
actually
mentions here,
split.
stalking and talking badly about other people, aren't unique to
Maybe he
psychopaths.
didn't acknowledge
So
that he's
these are
talking
his
about
thoughts,
himself.
what he's
himself.
done and will continue to do.
Maybe he was
These
splitting.
are threats. Next, he goes from he to I
Dreams.
while pointing to
So
himself.
dreamy.
There is the possibility that you've simply come upon.
Have you guys watched this movie? Another movie talk. Let's talk about this movie. It's called Split. With what's his name? I don't remember his name. But this guy had like a bunch of different personality. I forgot the term in English. Different personalities inside of him, and he would dress accordingly to the different personality. It was such a good movie. The acting was incredible. I definitely recommend it. I've seen it very good. Yeah, the acting was impeccable over there. So definitely check this out if you like that type of topic.
And I wouldn't know. Because do the psychopaths know that he's a psychopath?
Dude, that's a demon speaking right now.
Madsen's language indicates that he's sure that he's a psychopath,
That's not the
which is
person
exactly
speaking.
why he says he's not sure. It keeps people speculating. Psychopathic people are experts in playing on people's emotions and saying what people want to hear.
So when someone's being authentic, you get the feeling that not only that there's a person there in the moment, but somehow you reach into their very essence and you meet a unique individual.
I don't know why, that makes me want to cry. It's beautiful.
Well,
Sorry.
I think these are all things that we strive for. You know, we strive as a as individuals, we strive to break through a type of existential isolation.
Yeah, I wonder on the comment that you just made said, how much time do they really give to forensic psychiatrists and psychologists to really diagnose criminals after they've committed the crime before they decide if they're liable, or what's the word for it, like fit to stand trial or not? Because in otherwise normal therapy it takes months, and I don't think, maybe they do in some countries and in some places, but I don't know if they actually give them enough time to do that. Sometimes they will just interview them for one day, and the psychiatrist will be like, okay, yeah, he's fit to stand trial. He's completely fine. And maybe the person is completely psychotic and he didn't catch it. So I think that kind of like does a disservice to people who truly have mental disease and didn't really live in this reality when they committed the crime. I don't blame them. It's uncharted territory. Like Musk.
And even if that human is a machine,
is Musk fit to stand trial on his fake gaming
even
skills?
Ask the question, is this thing alive? Is this thing thinking?
Yeah.
Is this thing alive? Dude, you're talking about humans, man.
Okay. So.
But why do you think that's
so emotional for me?
Yes.
I don't know. I think because it seems like it's
is DTS enabled?
Something that I feel like I want
it. Works over
people with prominent psychopathic traits want to be seen as dangerous. This also has to do with their need of attention, which is a result of their inflated ego. This flies in the face of their references to being normal, which exposes these references for what they are, a tactic, not who they really are.
What kind of a person are you?
Kind of person would I describe myself to be? I don't know. Just an ordinary person. But then again, there's Jekyll and Hyde to me.
Yeah.
With conjunction but, which is used to minimize and negate that which preceded it.
Really
Ramirez minimizes and negates the just a guy-like phrase we've heard
and
before.
Mental illness is the
just
worst.
A guy.
I really
just
think it's worse than
the
physical
emphasis
illness
he places
sometimes.
on the Jekyll and Hyde contrast he introduces makes it even clearer why that phrase was and is unreliable. This contrast makes Ramirez sound exciting and can keep people guessing about which side of him they're watching. He looks into the camera and even repeats the interviewer's easy-to-understand question, showing all the signs of someone who's
the arrogance and the
attention.
perceived confidence is what gets people to
I still
watch
have
him.
dreams of everything that has happened, yes. But I like nightmares.
He likes nightmares? What kind of
I was happy
statement
till the
is
day I
that?
got arrested.
Aside from his obvious lack of
A lot of
guilt
people
and
who claim to
remorse
be
when he
possessed,
says
by the
that
way,
he
say
was
that they're happy
until
that
he
they got
arrested.
arrested. A lot of
It's
them say,
interesting
kill
how his
me,
own
I don't
words
want to
give him
kill
away.
anyone else again.
He says, they say I committed, and that he has dreams of everything that's happened, which is distancing and intentionally vague language. Ramirez is speaking as if he's innocent. However, people like Ramirez can't pretend to be normal for very long. No rational person likes to have nightmares.
But again, I think that you would see it on the facial
goes back
expressions.
to the same point, that people with prominent psychopathic traits are trapped between the false impression they want to give people, that they're innocent or normal, and a constant need of attention and to be seen as dangerous and mysterious. Ramirez's speech behavior resembles the cat that's toying with the mouse, believing to have the upper hand in the situation, and keeping people busy speculating about what's true and
yeah,
what's
here
not.
it's very, very,
His
very
behavior
hard to
exposes
fake
prominent elements of acting and
mental
playfulness.
illness.
Break.
Almost impossible.
No, we can't get into that. Don't laugh like that. You're making me laugh.
Sometimes it's in the eyes. You can't fake the eyes.
Philip, I can't say what I really feel. I am pending trial.
Are there any things about you you'd want to be remembered for? Things that are positive in you? Things that you think are special?
I survived as best as I could.
Usually, when a person's asked this type of question, they go on and on about what they hope to have been or done for other people. Ramirez doesn't. His focus is himself, his wants and needs, making it sound like his victims whom he frequently robbed were merely pawns in his way of surviving as best as he could, as he phrases it. However, Ramirez knows right from wrong, so he knows that this wasn't the best he could do. It was what he chose to do. He chose to do evil, and that's different.
What was the turning point for you that made you suddenly realize that you had done something terribly wrong, something you should be sorry for?
Don't know that I've seen her before.
The night of the arrest. I have no memory of what happened during the 6 hours before the last victim ran out of the apartment. I heard a knock on the door, and the police were there with the last victim. It was just the realization that there was no point in trying to hide my actions anymore. The best route was to help the police identify all the victims and just make a complete confession.
The question calls for Dahmer to describe something that changed in him, a turning point that's a lot sooner than the night of the arrest. For the vast majority of interviewees, this would have been the perfect moment for them to describe the feelings that made them change their mind, feelings of guilt and remorse. However, Dahmer doesn't feel like most people feel, so the great turning point for him wasn't what he was sorry for, but a cold realization that there was no point in hiding his actions anymore, as he phrases it. He describes what he thought the best route was, but not why it was the best route. Thus, the feelings of the victims' families weren't and still aren't part of this realization, which sounds a lot more like a calculation. As a result, the realization sounds more like annoyance with not being able to hide his actions anymore, which apparently was his first thought as opposed to remorse or guilt. Thus, the contrast Dahmer's introduced when the interviewers asked him about his potential feelings in the moment makes sense.
As well.
There was no time when you would
very piercing
see them and say, "This is grotesque. What have I done?"
There were times, but the compulsive obsession.
But I think
Dahmer
that
didn't and doesn't.
When normal people see this is grotesque, what have I done? And when a psychopath sees this is grotesque and I make it more grotesque, these are like two world perceptions clashing, at least in my head. I don't know if that's the case, just like thinking out loud. So she's asking him the question from a point of view of a healthy person. And that's normal, I guess she's trying to understand.
Feel guilt and remorse. Thus, his consistent downplaying of the emotions he should have had makes sense. There's a discrepancy between Dahmer claiming that he has no memory of what happened for 6 hours and his detailed description of this event that he obviously remembers vividly. Holes like that are often signs that a criminal is trying to control the narrative and uses selective memory to do it.
And it's just earth-shattering. I don't feel like this is even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up
that
from.
was such a transparent lie, this dude, his body
Chris
and
most
everything.
likely thinks he's being convincing because he says the right things.
I remember
but his facial expressions don't support the emotions he makes futile attempts to convey.
Interviews before I knew anything.
Being able to tuck them in.
It was so easy to see that he's lying.
It's heart-wrenching. It's earth-shattering right now because that's.
I want those kids back so bad.
They would only
Chris can't empathize enough with people to see how he comes across. Still, he always thinks that he's able to outsmart everyone. He keeps overqualifying, overcompensating.
And last night, I wanted that knock on the door. I wanted to see this kid just running, just barrel rush me and just give me a hug and knock me on the
scared
ground.
inside right now, by the way.
That didn't happen.
You can freaking see it.
That I would just ran over by the kids running in the door
and he
just
knows
like barrel
he's not
me,
telling
but it didn't happen.
Rehearsed answers lack spontaneity and real emotions. The exact kind of emotions Chris can't fake in the moment, which is why he resorts to overly wordy standard answers instead. Chris can't show what he doesn't have.
Hi lovelies, I'm back. How is the mood? Did you have a screen celebration without me? How dare you? Hands out chocolate-covered Brussels sprouts to chat. That's very interesting. I mean, it's even more interesting than my chicken in Coca-Cola in the oven. Have you ever tried cooking with chocolate? I hear that it gets caramelized in the oven and it's pretty tasty. but I've not been... oh, look at all those kisses! Woo! Thank you so much! I'm scared to put chocolate on salty foods. I don't trust it. Even though I've cooked with Coca-Cola, and I assure you it's very, very tasty on the chicken. Speaking of past midnight, I'm going to sleep, Daya. Don't overstay yourself. And stay away from psychopaths. I'll do my best, I promise. Thank you for hanging out, Nikki. Have a good night, sweet dreams. And sweet and good dreams. Yeah. Did anyone celebrate this holiday, by the way? Anyone go on a nice date or something? Hopefully you guys had a good day. It's probably very, very late for you as well, Sid. Is it like more than 4 a.m.? Kurt, I know you like Kylie. I literally pulled a Kylie playlist the other day just because of what you mentioned the other month or week. Are we ready to continue? We have a 5-minute video on how psychopaths fool you, and then we're gonna watch an interesting video that is like a game on YouTube of guessing who the psychopath is. I think that could be interesting for us to interact with. So, not much more lecturing. Ooh, look at that Kylie emote. She's so pretty. Happy Valentine's Day! Ooh, thank you for the on-screen celebrations. You guys are so sweet. Learn a Bulgarian word. Happy Valentine's Day. Okay. Are you ready? Are you taking notes? So the way you say Happy Valentine's Day in Bulgarian is Честит Svetý Valentin. It's actually Happy Saint Valentine's Day. Happy Saint Valentine's, how we say it. Честит Svetý Valentin, Chance! Thank you for redeeming that. Let's dance, yes. Let's watch 5-minute video.
We've got these two evil creatures here, the fox and the cat.
They look funny.
I think this one's based on one of the Marx brothers, actually.
By the way, this is where I found Jordan Peterson years and years and years ago, and this is the video that I discovered him. I was already like reading and watching a lot about these topics, and I really loved the way he like seriously taught his students with not metaphors, but what do you call this? When you draw like two different situations together to find the similarities with like animated creatures.
Actually, Harpo Marx, who I believe never said anything, but
be
that as it may, there are these ne'er-do-well characters. The fox in particular. Now, fox is a standard trickster animal, right? It's a classic animal, maybe because it's good at hiding and it's good at hunting. I don't know exactly why.
Before he was famous.
And coyotes are like that too. They're classic trickster animals. He's kind of like Wile E. Coyote, in fact, you know, the Warner Brothers character who's genius at large and, of course, whose arrogance continually gets him walloped. And this character has a lot of features like that, but he feigns
watch a
being
bunch of animated
an English
videos.
Gentleman of like the 1890s
Diagnose
and
the
pretends to be
characters.
educated and he has a kind of high-blown way of talking, and he's a fraud through and through. And he's got this, you know, sidekick who is barely there at all. And
Chat, if they have a sidekick, that's a red flag.
But he's got someone to lord it over, so that keeps his dominance hierarchy thing going well. And the fact that he's like a second-rate companion, well, he never really notices that, although he'll treat him contemptuously whenever he gets a chance. So anyways, they're walking down the street, and the fox is bragging away about some crooked thing that he's done and how he pulled the wool over someone's eyes, and he confuses that with wisdom and intelligence. And one of the things that you see, this is worth knowing too, because if you're preyed upon by a psychopath, which you will be to some degree at some point in your life, the psychopath who will be narcissistic will presume that you're stupid and that you deserve to be taken advantage of because you're naive and stupid. So it's actually
I'm having flashbacks. This is so accurate. I used to have a friend who would tell me all of his dating woes and all of his stories with the girls, and I'll never forget this because this was like a red flag in my head, and later on he did turn out to be like somewhere in that spectrum. he was talking about a girl and how he deceived her and used her. And then he mentioned something on the sort of, yeah, she deserved it, man. She was so stupid. And I'll never forget that. Like, I was like, what the fuck does he mean she deserved it? She's so stupid. It's almost like she begged for it. And that's truly how they feel. Hi, Paperbot. Welcome, girly. Happy Valentine's. How was your Valentine's? Tell us about it.
Actually a good thing that he's doing it. And his proof for, and I'm saying he because there are more male psychopaths. The proof that you're stupid, naive, is that he can take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you were wiser, you'd be, you know, you'd know his tricks, and then it wouldn't be morally necessary for him to show you just exactly who knows what about what. And so the psychopath
will
use his ability to fool you
how to stay
as
away
proof
from
of
them.
his own grandiose omnipotence, omniscience, and narcissism.
How to be
and
safe
the problem with
in
that
the
is that
world.
you can be fooled by a psychopath, and virtually anybody can. So that Robert Hare, for example, who studied psychopaths for a long time and interviewed a lot of them, like hundreds of them, and videotaped many of the interviews, he said when he was talking to the psychopath, he always believed what they were saying. And then he'd watch the video afterwards and see where the conversation went off the rails. But, you know, the proclivity to be polite in a conversation is very strong. And if you're polite, you don't object to the way that the person unfolds their strategy, you know. And psychopaths are pretty good at figuring out how to manipulate, obviously, how to manipulate people. And the probability that you will be immune to that is extraordinarily low. Go watch Paul Bernardo being interviewed by policemen on YouTube.
Paul Bernardo?
That's enlightening, man. Paul Bernardo, he's like the CEO of a meeting in that
I
video,
think I've watched this.
He gives the cops hell, he gives the lawyers hell, he protests his innocence. He basically tells them that they're rude and untrustworthy because they don't trust him because he did a few little things 17 years ago. It wasn't the best interview, by the way. And he gets away with it, a few little things, right? I mean, he killed a bunch of people, including the sister of his girlfriend at the time, and, you know, he was a repeat sexual offender and murderer. It's like, but he basically goes, well, you know, that's a long time ago. It's like,
it's almost
we're
like,
past that, aren't we? I mean, I'm having a discussion with you. I'm trying to help you solve some crimes, which, by the way, I committed, but we won't bring that up. You know, and you're accusing me of being a liar. Like, you're not playing fair. What's up with you? And then when they answer, he looks at his fingernails, which is like, that's a lovely little manipulative thing, because it basically means whatever happens to be under my fingernail at the moment is much higher priority than listening to your foolish
a lot
story.
of narcissists
and you watch,
do
you'll see
that
people
as well.
do that to you, and then you get a little insight into what they're up to. He's very good at that. And so, or he looks outside, or he just looks at his hands, or he looks out the window, immediately dismissive in his nonverbal behavior. It's brilliant. That the courts were forced to release that, by the way. But look it up, Paul Bernardo on YouTube. Wow, it's just mind-boggling. He's so good at what he does, and he's good-looking, and he's charismatic, and you know.
How are they always good-looking, though? Have you guys noticed that some of these psychopaths, especially the notorious ones, the serial killers who were psychopaths, they're always like good-looking. They always have like good genes.
And you can't tell what's
always
happening
extra
with the cops
intelligent
and
too,
the lawyers,
so
whether they're just letting him play his routine to get some information from him,
if
or
only
whether
they
he's
had a good
actually
heart.
setting them back on his heels. And I suspect it's a bit of both. But it's a masterful performance. If you didn't know who he was, and you were watching it without the audio, you'd think he's the CEO of some company giving his employees hell for not being up to scratch. That's all his body language, his eye contact, everything just speaks that. It's
the ones
amazing.
Who weren't good looking got forgotten. That's also true.
So let me ask you another question here.
Came into my mind. The two main forms of narcissism. Okay, we're not watching this. Shall we play a game and see if we can guess? If we can guess collectively, chat, who the psychopath is, and see if we can guess it. Like that one guy, like Ted Bundy. Yeah. We made Ted Bundy in The Sims, by the way. I completely forgot about him. He had killed so many families and like took the toddler with him, and now I forgot. We have this one save file with Ted Bundy. The ones who weren't good enough got forgotten. Or maybe they couldn't get as much praise. Yeah. All women love Ted. Yeah, I heard about all the letters that they get in. And the new Ted Bundy guy from this year, last year, autumn time, where I remember we were watching these videos about how he drove through a lady and then he spoke about her body after he killed her. And he was like this young, muscular, tattooed, good-looking guy, and so many girls were like trying to send money to a cause to set him free because he was good looking. So chat, our goal is to guess who the psychopath is among all the people.
To answer that question, I've gathered these.
One of them is a
10
psychopath.
of them are normal, but one of them is a psychopath.
My name is Eli.
Hey, I'm Jay.
And I'm not.
I am not. And I am not. I'm not a psychopath.
Okay, the dude
These
with
guys
the
will have
blue
5
eyes, I don't
rounds
think
to
he's
ask
a
each other
psychopath.
questions and try to sniff out who's the psychopath.
I think they're still here with us.
Both of them are so unbelievably sus.
I was just curious. Have you lied today?
Whoa!
Thank you,
Good
Bo.
luck to you guys.
Girly, thank you so much for the sub. Yes, okay, so
Yes.
do your homework, chat.
Rebecca, welcome
Who is
back.
the psychopath?
Rebecca is an actual psychologist who's going to help us know what to look for as we try to find the actual psychopath here. After 5 rounds, if the psychopath is still among them, they lose. And it turns out spotting a psychopath isn't as easy as we might think, which is scarier in some way.
Yeah.
Oh, what the? Josh, what are you doing, bro? Why is my girlfriend in
Oh,
there?
this girl.
She's kind of
His
This
girlfriend?
is scary. She's not a psychopath. There's no way that she's a psychopath.
But on the off chance that she is.
No.
Imagine that.
Just to be clear, guys, if you're not a psychopath,
Is it
you
an
need to answer
instant
these questions
breakup,
as
or is it
honestly
like
as
great
possible.
sexy
However,
time
the
and then
psychopath
breakup?
is allowed to lie as much as they want. All right, guys, round 1
It's a
starts now.
question
You
that
have
has to
5
be asked
minutes.
because
My
they
name's
always say
Ramsey,
that.
And
The
I'm not a
crazy ones are
psychopath
best in bed,
because
you know?
I just don't feel like it.
Yo, what's up, y'all? My name is Akadaj AK. I'm not a psychopath because I just got way too much to do.
This guy can't think of one reason why he's not a psychopath, so I'm sus with him already.
My name's Jay. Okay. We're continuing?
I haven't gone yet.
Oh.
Hi, my name
Oh.
is Eli. I am not a
Oh,
psychopath.
oh.
I'm not a psychopath because I just got way too much to do.
This guy
He has a
can't
shirt
think
called
of one reason
delusional.
why he's not a psychopath, so I'm sus with him already.
My name's Jay. Okay. We're continuing?
I haven't gone yet.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Eli. I am not a psychopath because just got a clear head on my shoulders.
When Jay started to speak before Eli got to speak,
Yeah.
you could see Eli kind of get a look on his face.
I did not notice this.
Money's on Eli.
Everybody
I'm
would get a
Jay, and
look
I'm
on
not
his
a
face.
psychopath because I'm often hired as a public speaker.
That feels like a psychopath job,
There's-
right?
Yeah.
There's
Because
something
I
about
grew
the
up
way
with
he
great
moves his
I'm
head.
Hope.
Could Hope be a psychopath?
I'm not a psychopath because I'm just a regular girl next door.
It's a horrible answer.
Yeah.
Horrible answer, Hope.
You might be moving to America scared of that country because that'll be good.
I am not a psychopath because I'm not on any medication.
Because I just don't think I am.
I don't think either of these girls are psychopaths. They're too nice and smiley and friendly.
Even if you're on medication, that's not a bad thing.
Because I have other mental illness, but
takes.
not that one.
Because I spend time around people willingly?
So I'm curious why you were late.
Me?
Yeah. And you walked in from over there and it just kind of threw me
I
off.
was going to ask that too. Are we just supposed to
Here we go,
pretend that
sticker
she
goes in my
was
face.
with us the whole way?
But it doesn't
I
want to
just
stick.
had a couple of things I needed to.
They had her out of the room
This
so that
girl
they could surprise
definitely has
me,
a
but
weird
now it's
vibe.
causing this giant ripple effect where they think that she's the psychopath.
You want to like tell us what those things were or it was like personal?
It's personal stuff.
Okay.
All right, time's up. I want each of you guys to step forward and vote on who you think is the psychopath. Now, I did a little bit of research. And
Who do you
turns
think
out
it is?
We don't call psychopaths anymore. Is that right?
That's correct. It's ASPD. I feel like the word psychopath gets thrown out a lot and used as derogatory when, you know, this is a personality disorder and these people are still people. They just happen to have a little glitch in their matrix.
Gulf of America.
Oh my
Even though it's been Gulf of Mexico.
Oh,
We got you, you crazy lady.
Ellie has those eyes. It's not that the girlfriend is the psychopath. Honestly, there's something about
A year
her.
and a month.
I've never been in a romantic relationship.
Interesting.
Why is this important?
Because people that have antisocial personality disorder are not able to keep relationships.
Question for you guys. Has there ever been a movie that made you cry?
Full on like bawling? No, I don't think so. It definitely brought like tears to my eyes and like had me in my feels. How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Edward's sus, bro.
Moulin Rouge?
I have no idea what that is.
Bambi.
Bambi.
I don't trust her.
King Kong.
King Kong?
Yeah, it's
King
emotional.
Kong made
Land
her
Before
cry.
Time.
Everyone's laughing except Eli. Did you see that?
Schindler's List.
That's a weird answer.
No, it's not. It's about the Holocaust. If you don't cry about millions of people being dead. What do you cry about? What the fuck? That's a weird answer, he says.
Good. When she's on the
Ellie has those
truck.
eyes.
Adam Sandler's Click.
Wait, which movie did he say?
Did you see that?
Schindler's List.
That's a weird answer.
You're
Annie,
weird.
when I was a little kid. When she's on the fire truck.
Adam Sandler's Click.
What?
All right. He's freaking hilarious, I'll say it. Eli's off my naughty list.
That was maybe the most psychopath answer he could have had.
I cried watching New Year's Eve.
Any childhood Disney movie where they murder all the parents and then the kid grows up. So.
Have you ever
Why
been
is he
arrested?
laughing
I
about
got
it,
pulled
though?
over for DUI. I blew under, but they still arrested me. I blew a .07. I got a wet and reckless for it coming home from work.
I have not been arrested.
We're asking this question because one of the top traits of a psychopath is somebody who often breaks rules, has no regard for
That
the law.
doesn't mean
Yeah,
that he
and very
gets
impulsive.
arrested,
And doesn't know right and wrong.
I haven't been arrested, but was put in a drunk tank in Whistler, Canada for public intoxication.
This guy just has a good time.
Lots of high school keggers. I've underage drinking all the way.
I have not been arrested.
I have not been arrested either.
Or have not been arrested.
I have not been arrested.
Nope.
All right, time's up. I want each of you guys to step forward and tell me who you think is the psychopath. All right, who are you voting for?
I
I
know
have
who
suspicions
it
about
should be.
Edward, and I have suspicions about
I
Valerie,
can't stick
and I
that
have
sticker to my face.
suspicions
I'm so
about
sorry.
Eli.
Eli.
They're Americans,
Eli
Daya.
rubbing his hands together.
Yeah, healthcare in America can be scary if you don't have like.
Okay, so we tied.
So basically, we don't know.
They voted
Edward, I'm gonna
Ellie
give
out.
you 1 minute to plead your case
If you
on
don't
why
have
you're
like
not
a lot of
psychopath.
funds.
Yeah.
We're okay, come up with one reason.
Other than not?
Who do you think, Daya? I think it's
Eli?
the sitting
Why am I
guy
not a psychopath?
Again?
because he didn't respect the order, and instead of letting Ellie speak before him, he just spoke in his place and then pretended that he didn't hear that Ellie didn't speak. I think this was like a controlling thing to do.
I think got a
You
good
vote
head
the
on my
host?
shoulders, good
Me
sense
too.
of self, but I've kind of let it lost as well.
Both of them are so unbelievably
Edward
sus.
gets your
All right,
vote.
Eli and Edward, I want you guys to
Oh,
look
yeah.
down. If you think Edward is the psychopath, raise your
did he
hand.
have?
And to
Who the heck
confirm if
is
you
Edward?
think Eli
Oh.
is the psychopath, raise your hand.
Oh my god.
Hell of a journey.
Get him out of there. All right, raise your hand if you guys think you have eliminated the psychopath so far.
Eliminated the psychopath? I don't know.
Why would
So
you
Eli's
vote
out of
for
the
him
picture.
if you don't
Rebecca,
think
out of
that it's
who's
him?
left here, what are we thinking?
I feel like I'm leaning towards Edward. He didn't plead his case.
I don't know.
And then the question about relationships
I've never been in a romantic relationship.
That
is
doesn't mean that he's a
just
psychopath.
suspect for sure.
All right, guys, we're moving on to round 3. Someone can start with a question if
guy.
they want.
So
Does
let's say I
have
came
those
to you
eyes.
guys, right?
Ooh, I
and I was
didn't look into
crying
his eyes.
about my boyfriend breaking up with me.
Saying
How would you
hello.
guys help me?
Having a sister, I would jump right in and say my answer is French fries and ice cream.
What kind of ice cream?
You're the one crying.
I'm gonna tell you, like, honestly, like, you're better than him the whole time anyways.
I feel like Valerie just turned this entire thing into a dating show.
Hey, it's Friday night. Girls gotta get what girls gotta get.
Psychopaths!
What
Dr. Trouble, welcome back. How you doing?
And get it out and vent and all that.
I would say the same thing, Valerie. Like, I'm a really good listener, so
He
I
looks
just do whatever
kinda
you
cold.
want. Like, Peter to listen.
Ryan is a
I got it
bro.
on. I
money's
got
on
the sticker
Edward.
on
I
papers
have
on
two
my
questions
face.
for Tommy. You said you're in a relationship for
But
a
yeah,
year.
Piper,
Why
are
did
you in
y'all
the
split up?
process?
Okay, well, I was really sick at the time, and then
it
he
is.
also lived across the country, like was traveling back and forth.
The second one was when we all said we're not psychopaths. You said you have other illnesses. Do you want to like say what those are?
An eating disorder.
Oh, that was the one.
but I'm in recovery.
Man, she's brave for sharing that. That is such a hard thing. And to share it, kudos to that girl. Yay. Yeah, I hope it works out for you. I hope everything goes by water, as we say in Bulgarian. Like, everything flows perfectly for you. And if you do move there, that it is everything that you expected it to be and more. Happy Valentine's Day, Sin. How was your day? Welcome to the stream.
Recovery. I have a
Can't
question.
vote because I've seen it before.
zodiac
Oh!
Zodiac sign. Okay.
This is no science backing any of that.
Zodiac signs.
I don't care.
To be fair, don't judge me, don't hate me, but the most narcissistic people that I've ever met in my life, they've all been Leos. And I don't believe in astrology. I don't care about zodiac signs. It just happened so they were Leos and we were vibing the most, but they also kind of like were narcissistic.
I'm a Cancer, but I just wanted to know.
I was wondering if everybody has pets.
Curious. I have 2 dogs. Their
Diamond
names
Kid
are
with the
Snowbird
hugs.
and Mimi. Husky and Mimi.
Ryan is very
Did you forget his dog's name?
Yes.
emotionally
Ryan's
flat.
psycho.
Yeah.
He just made that up. He doesn't have dogs.
Yes.
I don't, but I volunteer with dog rescue all the time.
Gnarly and
Oh,
basic.
he lied.
No pets.
I have a cat. I can't have pets.
How are you
in my
doing,
place,
Marley? It's been a while. It's
Have
good
in
to
the
see you.
past,
Thank you for
don't
the lurky.
currently,
Hi.
don't particularly
Happy
want them.
Valentine's Day, girly.
And he's acting like a psycho.
There's like someone else controlling the ship in his brain.
Did you say someone's in your brain?
No, I said someone was in
Say somebody
Ryan's
controls your
brain.
brain.
He's like,
No,
are
I
you
didn't say
hearing
that.
voices?
I just want to say, Jay is the person that I least expect.
Ryan.
What if Jay's been throwing us off this whole time?
Exactly.
that was a
That's what
psycho move.
a psychopath
I'm
would
gonna get
do.
every single vote now. You just made me vote for me by
Unless you're a phenomenal actor.
All right. time's up. We've gone through-
Also, just by the fact that he's sitting down and appearing as physically like the weakest among all in that way, that kind of like gets you to not think about him, but maybe it's an act. Happy Love Day! Happy Love Day to you, Marley! I hope you guys are super happy. Did you celebrate? Or rather, it's early for you, so are you celebrating tonight? No, you're Leo! But no, I was talking about guys. I don't think I've ever known a girl Leo. I was literally talking about guys. I'm not just trying to excuse it. So I know in astrology it matters if you're a girl or a guy, so it's not about you. You're cool.
Through 3 rounds of
Your
voting,
pieces.
they have absolutely
Came
no
back
idea
from
who the
the
psychopath
gym.
is.
Ooh, nice.
All right, so we got a tie
Which
between
muscle groups
Rose
did you
and
attack today?
Edward. If you think Rose is the psychopath,
I think
raise
Rose
your
is
hand.
more
And if you
psychopathic
think
than
Edward
him.
is the psychopath, please raise your hand.
Oh, wow.
Edward's done.
Wow.
But he has such kind eyes, though.
Guys, tell me about your elimination process on Edward. That was a pretty unanimous vote.
I just didn't think it was Rose.
Just seems so sweet.
I don't think it's Edward or Rose.
You feel like you've already eliminated the psychopath?
I think they're still here with us, amongst us. I feel like I know who it is.
Same.
What?
Ooh.
And why wouldn't you vote?
Ooh, okay, chat. Watch that moment when the orange cardigan lady says, I think I know who it is. Watch the second afterwards what happens.
I feel like I know who it is.
Same.
What?
Did you
Then
see
why wouldn't
that?
you vote them out?
I know it's not Jay.
I question everybody.
Ryan just keeps throwing Jay out. It is
Yeah,
actually
the
really
way
hard
he
to tell
looked
who's
at
not being
her, it
transparent
was
out
like,
there.
does she
Kind
know?
of like how businesses
How does she
aren't
know?
transparent about how to save you
She
money.
knows.
Oh my God, that was a good transition.
she knows.
Fortunately, my favorite online shopping tool, Honey, searches for promo codes for a lot of your favorite websites that you're already using and automatically applies the discounts. This is a brand new channel, and Honey is
That's
cool enough
the
to
worst
ship
thing
like
to
with your
advertise,
parents.
man.
So
Honey.
Let's see what's going on in the room
That was a
here.
scam.
All right, we're gonna go on to round 4. I would love to start with a question on this one. What is your relationship like with your parents?
So I'm a daddy's girl. I love my dad so much. My mom's my best friend. I tell her everything.
Me and my mom are cool, and then me and my dad were really rough, but now I'm like seeing like
No,
how
you
solid he
scam-
is.
yeah.
I live 2 doors down from my mom, so I see her every day. I talk to my dad like a couple times a week on FaceTime.
My mom is my bestie. We get along very well. My dad and I, he's just like, we'll talk on occasion, but we're not super, super close.
Just for public knowledge, just because you don't talk to your parents doesn't mean that it's your fault. It could have been that they were the psychopaths, not you.
I did have a little rough patch when I decided that I didn't want to be cookie cutter.
She just don't want to be cookie cutter.
I'm a huge mama's boy. I talk to her at least 3 times a week. We watch the Oscars together. She's a mean old South Side chick from Chicago.
My parents live in Jersey, where I'm originally from, so talk to them a lot. We Zoom like once a week. Yeah, we've always had a pretty good relationship. I would
This
say I have
dude
a
has
great relationship
robotics,
with my
bitch.
parents. Come to California from Hong Kong, and I love them very much.
Guys,
What do you feel?
Chat, who do you
Ryan
think
is a
that it's the
I think he's just more
psychopath?
reserved than the rest of the bunch.
Ryan?
Yes.
Have you ever seen like a therapist or a psychologist?
No.
Never?
Never. Why?
I was just curious.
He's wearing a suspicion on his sleeve right now.
So I also wanted to ask Rose and Tommy the same thing.
Yes.
I'm in therapy.
I just don't know. I'm so clueless.
I'm curious actually, like if everyone is currently in therapy or has ever been to therapy, because I am in it and have been.
No.
I never have.
Never.
Can I ask why just us three though?
All right, time's up. I want each of you guys to step forward and tell me who you think is the psychopath.
Rebecca, I heard a rumor that if you don't check the toilet paper after you wipe, it's a psychopath tendency. Thoughts?
My grad school training did not go over that.
What?
There he goes, dude.
Bye, Ryan. Bye.
I knew it.
All right, so now everybody that I personally sussed out as a psycho is gone, except for Rose. But now I'm kind of thinking Akaraj may be the guy.
I think the guy with the
we're
hat
moving
could
into round
also
5,
be.
the final round. And I'm gonna leave the floor open to you guys for the next 5 minutes.
Can I ask something? Can we just do like a rapid fire, like yes or no?
Relationships with their parents, yeah, right?
No.
I was like,
No.
Never lied.
No.
if I were there, they would have kicked me out.
How trustworthy do you think you are as a person? You said you don't trust anybody.
Unfortunately, I have gone through many
everybody should be
situations in life
trusted.
where I was too trusting.
And everyone else?
I trust everybody. I'm cool with everybody.
I'm mostly trusting.
Yeah, I would say mostly trusting. I think especially like friends and things like that, it's pretty open.
I kind of have like some trust issues, but for the most part, like I think that everyone like can do no wrong.
Well, I'll be the honest one and say I trust nobody.
If you could choose to like hang out with like a group of friends or hang out by yourself, what would you choose?
Friends.
One person.
Close friends.
Mostly friends, but every once in a while I do need my alone time to like recharge my batteries, so.
That's a funny question because aren't psychopaths mostly extroverted? I wouldn't think that they're introverted. So if the person says, I like to be alone, I like my own company, that doesn't make them a psychopath, does it? What if you don't know, but you technically are a psycho? That could also be a thing.
I like a group.
I think that they know.
You're thriving. We can tell.
I think that they know.
And you?
Yeah, I think balance of both. Like sometimes I like to go see a movie by myself, just take a little time.
That
but
sounded like a rehearsed
All right,
answer.
time's up. This is your last chance to vote out who you think the psychopath is.
Who is Jay? Is it the first guy? Oh, ooh.
No way! They all voted for Jay.
He voted for himself
It
too?
all just sounded so good, and I'm sure he's a wonderful person, but it could all have been bullshit, so.
When I spoke to him
Why
and
do
I
you think
asked
so,
him
Chance?
how he would take care of me, it kind of gave me flashbacks of like an ex. Probably had like some narcissistic things.
It's time for the final reveal. Oh my, I'm too excited.
Sorry, Hope.
Should we hold hands? Will the psychopath, the person diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, please
You know who I
step
think
forward?
it is?
No, I'll stay here.
I knew
The
it!
most fun part was if I didn't vote for myself in the last round, it would have been a tie, and I
Yeah.
could have talked my way out of that too.
I am blown away.
Jay,
The
how
way
much
his
of
demeanor changed. Look at the way his speech changed.
The most fun part was if I didn't vote for myself in the last round, it would have been a tie, and I could have talked my way out of that too.
The mask
I am
is
blown
off.
away.
Jay, how much of what you said today was a lie?
Every single thing.
Jay, when were
Especially
you
the
diagnosed?
ice cream and
20 years
the...
ago, I was getting arrested too often, not for underage drinking. They put me on Zoloft, made my stomach upset, and then I just thought every shrink I met was an asshole just trying to sell me pills, so I don't do any of them.
Jay, I have a question. What was life like after you were diagnosed? Did it change at all for you?
Probably not.
No, just getting old does. You don't change the way you think. If you know something's wrong and you want to fix it, go find someone to fix it.
But why would he put himself in a show like that? Wouldn't that be not very smart? You were so right about him the whole time. Yeah, the moment he spoke in front of the other person, that was like a assertion of control, completely unnecessary. And then when the orange cardigan girl said, "I think I know who it is," and he was like, "Uh-oh," it was like, yeah, this guy. But yeah, the comment that he made about the ice cream and the popcorn or whatever he said, that was so sleek. I really thought that maybe I made a mistake then. Shit, I'm not good at spotting one. Which one did you think it was, Blame Lucio? I think you said a name earlier. I saw it straight away. Who did you think it was, Paper Pow? You said, did you watch this before? Man, he's too big to run around. Chase people with chainsaws. Maybe he doesn't have to. He like lures them with sweetness and ice cream, and then they're just inside his house. And then he stands up, and apparently he doesn't have any disability to walk. And then he puts the chainsaw things. I don't agree. You don't change the way you think. Look at his eyes, man. His eyes are so cold in this frame. Find someone to fix it, as it don't do anything about it yourself. Lack of responsibility is a trait of psychopathy. Yeah, it's always somebody else's fault. Don't eat his ice creams. That's the smartest thing to say about it. Oh my god, that would explain why he brings the food. Oh god, now I'll never eat anything that anyone brings. So it can be the sitting guy. It would be too obvious. The way his speech changed, that was crazy. Okay. We have one more video of Jordan Peterson.
So anyways,
what makes a psychopath? It's been a very interesting Valentine's Day. Very unconventional, very Daya-like. Too obvious. Do you think it's impossible to change your thinking as an adult, Daya? Yes, I do. Then again, I don't. A lot of conventional medicine and a lot of conventional psychiatry I don't agree with when they give prognosis of this cannot be changed, it could never be healed, because I've seen people who have been healed, and I've listened to people who have been diagnosed from things that apparently there's no treatment for, and they were healed. So when they say that they can never change, it's almost like, who am I to say that they can? Like, only God maybe can see if they can or cannot. But if we go about conventional psychology and psychiatry, then if they're a primary psychopath, according to theory, they were born that way and they cannot change. If they're a secondary psychopath, then maybe then we can ask this question. But if we're talking about any person, then yes, definitely. I changed a lot. If people knew me when I was like 18 to 23, and now I'm like such a different person. And that's all on God. But yes, we can change for the better. The psychopath shouldn't be the person who obviously stands out at first glance. Maybe they wanted to put it out there, completely obvious. You know how hidden in plain sight works. Educational Valentine's Day. Yes, we should be safe because there's a lot of psychopaths and narcissists, man, especially on dating
in the underworld, in the place beyond your current conceptualizations. That's the place of death and nature, and it's beyond the light, and it's also the place of hell, and that's what you see here. And how do you conceptualize that? Well, one of the things you'll see if you're interested in this sort of thing, if you ever go read the writings of the Columbine killers, the teens, they're very interesting. They're very much worth reading, especially, I think it's Dylan Klebold, who was the more literate of the...
What was this case with the two brothers who killed their mother and father in the US? And I think they were maybe talking about releasing them this year. I forgot. Menendez brothers. Are you familiar with the Menendez brothers case? That's very interesting as well.
The two,
maybe
but he tells you
like
exactly where he went after brooding and brooding on his isolation and segregation from mankind. So he's out there beyond, he's out there in a chaotic domain, and because he's tortured by that, his thoughts take an unbelievably dark turn. Like, it's unimaginably dark. If you're interested in that sort of thing, you could read that. There's another book you could read called Panzram, Panzram, and it's a fascinating book. It's about this guy who, I think he raped 1,200 men. So that sort of tells you what sort of guy he was. Extraordinarily physically powerful and brutal and malevolent. And he was kind of a juvenile delinquent type. And they put him in a reform school, and he was not well treated in that reform school. It's sort of like the worst of the Canadian residential schools. And when he came out, he was not a happy boy. And so he spent the rest of
And from the day of their prosecution, they've always stated that they were abused, right? And that's why they did it. I also think my mentality has changed in adulthood. At what age you would say that you were last the person that you were and then you became someone else. Because some of our changes are completely normal, like as I said earlier, but you guys weren't here. We can exhibit narcissistic behaviors in our teen years, and that's apparently a completely normal stage of development. It can scare us, but yeah, it's normal to go through that and then continue to develop and not get stuck in it. And a lot of people just get stuck in it.
Of his life trying to be as destructive as he could possibly imagine, and purely consciously with malevolent intent. And then, and believe me, he was pretty destructive. He kept track of the dollar value of all the buildings he burned down. He tried to start a war between Britain and the United States. Like, he was all out for all out mayhem. His dying words that they're going to hang him, he told the guy who was going to hang him, he said, "Hurry up, you Hoosier bastard. I could kill 12 men in the time it takes you to hang me." Jesus. And that's exactly the sort of person he was. And he made friends with this physician in the prison, who he thought was like the first person who ever did something nice for him. Gave him $1 for cigarettes, if I remember correctly. And the physician encouraged him to write his autobiography. And so he did. And it's available. I was kind of late, so it happened to me later. If you want a view, because, you know, you always think of people. I was such a late bloomer in everything. Well, people have good intentions, you know. That you especially think that if you're naive and agreeable. So all of you who are sitting there out there thinking people have good intentions, you're probably high in agreeableness. But that's not always the case. People can have very dark motivations that are fully conscious and very well elaborated. And Panzram he was smart. And his book is very well written, and he tells you exactly why he thought the way he thought. And so it's a good glimpse of exactly this sort of thing, where you can get to, if you want to, by brooding on your specific misfortune.
Okay, this video is not very clear because we don't know who the person is.
His basic credo was that human beings were so reprehensible that they should just be eliminated. And believe me, that's what he was trying to do. And these people who do terrible things, like the Columbine shooters, that's exactly what, for lack of a better word, they're possessed by. It's sheer malevolence. And the Columbine kids had a much more spectacular catastrophe planned than the one that actually occurred. And they knew it was going to be a full-blown media circus. And lots of these people who engage in those sorts of mass murders, they know about the other mass murderers, and they're engaged in a competition. And the competition is who can do the most brutal thing the fastest.
That's why it becomes worse and worse in sadism. So, I wonder, Lau, watching this, if they'll do such an analysis about, and I'm sorry that I'm bringing this topic again, but like about the cruelty that was done upon people on the 7th of October, because I'd never heard such horrific, hellish things before, and I saw some of it, and it just blew my mind, and I thought I'd already seen everything. And people who were there and witnessed it said that, like, the professionals who collected the bodies, there was never such thing before. And a professional person from Zaka that was interviewed, he said that he worked for 30 years. Zaka is the people who collect the bodies of the deceased. He worked for 30 years and he'd never, ever, ever seen bodies in such condition. So it kind of like makes you question what kind of evil will possess people to max out the sadism and the cruelty to such an extent, and then you think that there's no next level to it, and then it happens.
You can't just be thinking about people who have good intentions but have somehow gone wrong. If you ever meet someone who isn't like that and you think that, you're just a tree with ripe fruit to be plucked. So you don't want to be in that situation. You have to keep your eyes open. Is it like an old story? Anyways, that's basically what's encapsulated in this part of the story. Now, the hyenas go after the little lion,
I still need
obviously,
to see
but they manage
movie.
to escape. It's a very malevolent scene. And
I still don't know
Mufasa
the Lion King.
Shows up at the last minute to rescue them.
Did you guys watch the new Mufasa?
And, there's also a mythological trope there, which is that if you go outside your domain of confidence and you encounter something you don't understand, the first thing that you're going to do is look to the knowledge structures that you already possess to explain it. Yeah, right? And that's you could say from a symbolic perspective that's the manifestation of the Father. Because of course that's what you're going to do.
Goodbye, everybody.
Outlandish.
I've got to go.
Have a good night.
Gotta leave you all behind and face the truth.
Always face the truth, our friend. Outlandish, thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you have a great night and happy love day. We'll see you next time, okay? Have sweet dreams.
You know, what's really interesting too is because I've had a lot of clients who've had PTSD, and without exception, every single one of them was induced by one form of malevolence or another. They have to develop a very sophisticated philosophy of good and evil to get out of it, because they have a worldview in which those things don't really exist. There's no such thing as pure malevolence. Well, that's fine unless you encounter it. And then as soon as you encounter it, you won't know what to do. And then you won't be able to get on with your life. You'll do nothing but think about that and think about it and think about it and think about it. It'll disrupt your sleep. It'll put you into a permanent state of preparation for action. Because the part of your brain that's detected that, which in my estimation, by the way, is the same part, at least in part, that detects snakes. It's the same damn circuit. Once it's seen something like that, it is not going to let you go till you figure.
The same part that detects snakes in our brain is the same part that detects evil? Tell me that this is not biblical. This is insane. And also this would explain why, like, children victims of abuse often develop this complex PTSD before we have like concept of good and evil and like deep understanding of it, and then they get stuck in it. Gotta go to bed. Good night all. Keep spreading the love. Yes, most outlandish players. Mucho love to you. Rains of love to you. Thank you for being a part of our beautiful tiny community. Don't leave us. Who gonna help simp for Diamond Kid? You're the lord of the simps. You are enough, my friend. You got this. Maybe it's just some generic danger detection mechanism. It's that thing that puts you into hypervigilance, and it literally is like a constant thing, which is why people with post-traumatic stress disorder after some time develop some adrenal gland problems, because they're literally like super high. Why am I saying this? It doesn't even matter, but like cortisol and like the stress levels are, that system is like constantly on, like the fight or flight mechanism that we have. Usually when you like go in danger, it leads up, right? And then you react with either way, fight, flight, fawn. And then when you're outside of the danger already, that mechanism turns off, and then you're able to like relax, and animals are good at that. But as humans, if we're in PTSD, this never turns off, and you're literally like hypervigilant. And you see this in people who have like hypervigilance at the slightest noise or something. And it depends on what their trauma is, but like let's say they have super abusive person at home who would like scream like crazy and crash doors and stuff like that. When a similar sound happens, when they're even in a safe place, they will still like jump and look around and be like hyper vigilant, because their body does not know the difference between safe and not safe. It's like constantly expecting the next danger to happen. And yeah, I don't think it's the generic mechanism. It's just like the feedback. The feedback loop is broken, and so they never turn it off, in a way. Anxiety, hello! Why am I screaming? Happy Valentine's Day! And now Jordan Peterson wants to educate us women about what we don't know about men. It's only 3 minutes, so let's see if it's accurate, because most of our chat is men. And Paper and I are girls. I don't know if there's anyone else who's also a female gentleman. So, guys in chat, please let us know if what Jordan Peterson is saying is true.
Is the image of female perfection to motivate themselves. And that's exactly right. That's precisely what they do. You see that in the Tom Sawyer story. So Tom Sawyer is about 12 years old, and he's still hanging around with his friends like Huck Finn. And this girl moves across the street, Becky, and she comes out, and he's struck by her for the first time in his life. Something's changed.
That's a
and the first thing he does is hop up on a picket fence and show off and balance in front of her. And he's saying, well, look at me, look at me. He's like the male bowerbird.
Why did
building
they
something
research
beautiful
exactly
so the
the
female will
disgust
approve of
response?
it. It's motivation. You know, and that's something that I think modern women don't really understand about men. They don't understand that, at least to the degree that males are uncorrupted and not bitter because of being rejected, they're doing everything they can to kneel before the eternal image of the feminine. and try to make themselves worthy.
Is that what you men are doing?
Story, right? That's
because
what
it
you
doesn't look like this in the last 10 years. I'm sorry.
And so out of chaos emerges this first form. It's the feminine form. It's partly the form that represents novelty as such. So, and on one hand it's promise, on the other hand it's threat. That you wouldn't believe, and I don't know, because I don't know.
You cannot see the naked female.
With women
Thank
as well
God
as I understand
it's
the
under my
situation with
camera.
men, obviously, being a man.
There's a picture of a naked lady. Oh, you can see it now. Okay, cool. There's anxiety there and a threat.
But
and novelty.
I don't know if women have any idea how paralyzing they are to, especially young men.
Don't know what I'm doing.
A very large number of.
Oh no! Somebody give him
clients,
water,
but also
man.
young men I've talked to in general.
Jesus.
Are absolutely terrified of women because they're terrified of being rejected, and the terror exists in precise proportion to the attraction to the woman, which is a horrible paradoxical situation to be in. It's often why men make such fools of themselves in front of women that they're attracted to. It's because, first of all, they don't see the woman that they're attracted to, because what the hell do they know about her?
Like
they don't see her as an individual. They see her as the manifestation of a judgmental ideal.
Is that what you guys do, though? Anxiety.
Showing the love with all my simp powers. Haha, almost a year.
That's lots of simp powers. That's 11. That's level 11 of simp powers. That's a lot. Also, you get a balloon and a face sticker. There are more studies about neurological differences between people on different political leanings. That is very, very interesting. I would like to see if they what do you say? What's the word in English when like two things collide together, but not collide? No, they I've forgotten all of my physics terminology. When you put them together and they fit together, I would like to know if one of the groups fits together with the group that when you see a bad image of a suffering person, the certain area of the brain that is linked to empathy lights up, and then the other one does not have that, basically. I would like to see if that fits together with the same group's motto. Just this one stuck with me, the one with the disgust, that is pretty funny. Let's go. With anxiety. Ah! It's making ASMR sounds. Cover your ears, it's gonna be terrible. Someone came into my YouTube channel and I think they were trying to like not be mean, but they told me that my voice is just 3 dots and it fits to be on ASMR. You like ASMR? Oh my god. It's like a screaming cat. Meeting a raccoon and trying to have a dating conversation, being like, no, I'm the psychopath. No, you are. Here we go for anxiety. Woo. Oh, he's a jumping one. Love it. So where were we? The manifestation of judgmental ideal.
And it's only in establishing the relationship with the actual woman that they can start differentiating between the judgmental ideal and the actual individual woman. And that also requires a sacrifice. And the sacrifice is, you never can have an ideal woman.
Exactly.
So to have a relationship with any woman, you have to sacrifice.
And I think that that's where a lot of males fail, or men fail, because like the moment that you figure out that she's not perfect, the first moment you figure out her first flaws, literally maybe everything drops in you and you're like, I'm not interested in that. And so many relationships fail at that stage. But this is maybe a theory. I'm not stating this as facts. I don't know. I've never been a man. But you tell me. You guys tell me. Is there any base in that?
Sacrifice the relationship with the ideal woman, and you have to see the individual woman and separate her from the ideal. And that's the same thing that happens to the hero in Sleeping Beauty, right? He sees the evil queen who actually turns into the dragon of chaos, and it's not until he can defeat her that he can establish a relationship with the actual princess. And that's exactly the case. I had a one of my clients
Depends
who
on
ran
who
this
is
men's group, which
funding
was
the
quite
study,
interesting.
doesn't
One of
it?
the things they had, the initiates
There were a lot of studies in the times of COVID.
do, which was very intelligent, was to go out and ask 50 women in one day for their phone numbers.
Oof.
Why? Politely, properly, you know. It was a game, but it wasn't a stupid game. And the idea was, get over your fear of rejection.
Oh, that's what they do
And how
in
do you do
pickup
that?
artist
By
schools.
encountering it continually and continually and continually, so that you're no longer paralyzed by this.
Is that what Jordan
There's
Peterson
this old
did?
story in King Arthur where
Before
the knights
he
go off to look for the Holy Grail.
Met his wife.
Which is
Beans, the
either
magical fruit.
the cup
yes.
that Christ
so much
drank
protein.
out of at the Last Supper, or the cup into
I should
which the
make some
blood
beans.
that gushed from his side was
What if we
poured
make
when he
a
was
beans
crucified.
cooking stream?
The stories vary, but it's basically a holy
in.
object, like the
And then
phoenix
we
in
should
some
make this
sense,
work.
that's a representation of transformation.
Here we go,
So
another face
it's an
stickers on
ideal,
thinking
and so
anxiety.
King Arthur's knights, who sit at a round table because they're all roughly equal, go off to find the most valuable thing, and where do you look for the most valuable thing when you don't know where it is? Well, each of the knights looks at the forest surrounding the castle and enters the forest at the point that looks darkest to him. And that's a good thing to understand, because the gateway to wisdom and the gateway to the development of personality, which is exactly the same thing, is precisely through the portal that you do not want to climb through. And the reason for
Face
that's
your
actually
fears.
quite technical. This is a Jungian presupposition too, is that,
denialism
well,
got
there's a bunch of
normalized.
things about you that are underdeveloped, and a lot of those things are
I think it's
because
a
there's
long,
things
long,
you've
long
avoided
time
looking
ago.
at because you don't want to look at them, and
At
there's
least
parts
as
of you
long
you've
as when
avoided
sugar was
developing because
administered.
it's hard for you to develop those parts, and
Maybe
so
even earlier.
it's by virtual
came
necessity
first,
that what
sugar
you
or
need
cigarettes?
is where you don't want to look, because that's where you've kept it. And that's why there's, you know, an idiosyncratic
Aluminum
element of it
cans.
for everyone. Your particular
They
place
always
of
knew.
enlightenment and terror is not going to be the same as
But
yours,
sugar was,
except that they're both places of enlightenment
done on purpose,
and terror.
by the way.
So they're equivalent at one level of analysis and different at another. So anyways, back to fiction and what it does. It distills truth, and it
Also, a little conspiracy theory here, but did you guys ever hear? I don't know if this is theory or not, if it's facts or theory. A lot of the founders of the most popular theories in different sciences that we use today as absolute factual information to build upon were actually members of secret societies at their times.
it produces characters that are composites, and the
Weight
more
loss
they
remedy
become
were earlier, I
composites,
think.
the more they approximate a mythological
Have you
character.
ever seen those advertisements
And
where
so
they say that
they
they're
become
healthy?
more and more universally true and more
Mind-blowing.
approximating religious deities, but the problem with that is they become more and more distant from individual experience. And so
They knew before
with
they
literature there's this
distributed
very
sugar that is
tight
harmful.
line where you need to make the character
They did it on
more than merely
started
human, but not so much of a god that, you know, one of the things that happened to Superman in the 1980s, Superman started out, he's got a heavenly set of parents, by the way, and an earthly set of parents, and he's an orphan like Harry Potter. Very common theme is that when Superman first emerged, he could only jump over buildings, you know, and maybe he could stop a locomotive, but by the time the 1980s rolled around, like he could juggle planets and, you know, swallow hydrogen bombs, and, you know, he could do anything.
Yeah.
Well, people stopped buying the Superman comics because how interesting is that? It's like something horrible happens and Superman deals with it.
It's they cannot relate to it. It's too far away from their experience, and so maybe on that line of far away but still interesting and maybe possible in the fantasy realm to like way too far away, their interest in it maybe just drops.
And something else horrible happens and Superman deals with it, and it's like, that's dull. He turned into such an archetype. He was basically the omniscient,
predictable.
omnipresent,
Angel!
omnipotent God.
Hello, thank you for the
And that's no
bullshit check.
fun. It's like God wins, and then God wins again, and then again
Happy
God wins,
Valentine.
and you know. So then they had to weaken him in different ways with kryptonite, you know. So green kryptonite kind of made him sick, and red kryptonite, I think, kind of mutated him if I remember correctly. And anyways, they had to introduce flaws into his character so that there could be some damn plot.
Do you think that most
and that's
people
something to
have
think
it
about, you know. There's a deep
kinda
existential lesson in that,
makes me
in that
curious.
your being is limited and flawed and fragile.
It's perfectly
You're like the
flawed.
genie, which is genius in the little tiny lamp, you know, this immense potential, but constrained in this tiny little living
Valentine.
space,
Yes,
as Robin
welcome.
Williams said when he played the genie in Aladdin.
I hope you
But
had
the
a
fact that
beautiful
you
day.
have limitations means that the plot of your life is the overcoming of those limitations, and that if you didn't have limitations, well, there wouldn't be a plot, and maybe there would be no life. And so that's part of the reason why perhaps you have to accept
What are you
the fact
watching?
that
We've
you're-
been watching a lot of videos about psychopathy and then dating and then trying to figure out who the psychopath is among a bunch of people. And now we're just watching the final videos of Jordan Peterson about facing your fears.
flawed
You're
and
tired?
insufficient, and,
What time is
and
it for
live
you?
with it and consider it a precondition for being. It's at least a reasonable idea. So anyways, one of the main characters is the country, the known, the
It is
explored
super
territory.
late.
We went over that a bit, and it always has two elements. I mean, your
1:27
country
a.m..
is your greatest friend and your worst enemy, you know,
Holy
because
moly.
it squashes you into conformity and demands that you act in a certain manner and reduces your individuality to that element that's
Yeah.
tolerated by everyone
That's
else,
terrible.
and it constrains your potential in a single
I don't know,
direction.
Chad, did
and
you have a good
so
time?
it's really tyrannical, but at the same time
It was very
it
unconventional
provides you
Valentine's
with
Day.
a place to be and all of the benefits that have accrued as a result of the actions of your ancestors and all the other people that you're associated with. So there's the good tyrant or the bad tyrant and the good king, and those are archetypes.
Yeah, I don't think that we're saying that a science as a whole is meaningless. I think my personal stance is I really value true science. A lot of the popular science has become pseudo or pseudoscience, and it's not asking a question to find out the answer. It's having the answer that you want and looking for ways to prove that that's the answer to the question. And that for me is like the fake science that I have no respect for. Of course, it depends on which field we're talking about, because if we're in some aspects of science, maybe not biological and chemical science, but in philosophy or stuff like that, you can literally do that. But I'm talking about the physical sciences. That would be dishonest to me, and so I don't trust it. But yeah, isn't it amazing that you can have two different studies that literally say the opposite? And then if you look into the credits and who the people were, maybe you can find other studies that they did and figure out why those differences are. Maybe they have an agenda, maybe they don't. Sound like you guys had a nice day. I hope people did. I definitely am having the best time. I love these topics. I love the deep psychological topics. I love talking about dynamics and different pathologies of the mind and the soul. I just came back from work. It's 6 p.m. Ooh, the whole evening is before you. Do you drink coffee? Also, do you plan to celebrate tonight? Sorry to slow converse from my end. I got so invested in your stream I forgot to cook, and now running back and forth to my kitchen in here. I appreciate you so much. You just came in today and you've been hanging out for so long. I hope you're having a good time, and I'm low-key interested in what you're cooking, but I hope your cooking process is fun. Alright, I'm gonna get out of there, says Anxiety. Hope you have a good rest of your stream. Thank you so much, Anxiety. Enjoy your blue flower. Look at that. You have a blue flower now. Thank you so much for coming in, man. Have a beautiful, beautiful Valentine's. I appreciate you. Agreed? But when someone says they don't agree with someone, you can say that they're tossing science out of the window. You mean the hard science versus soft science distinction, Daya? I guess so. I've never heard it called that way before, but yeah. I was just referring to the I don't take much stock in studies. I gotta tell you, after the whole COVID fiasco, I've lost a lot of trust in popular science. But then for me to be able to derive to that conclusion and the conclusion to make me lose trust, I had to trust real science. And trust the real science that I studied and saw in the university, and then before the university in my medic years, and everything that I've read and seen after this. And so, trusting real science.
Simple figures, and that's because they're always true, and they're always true simultaneously. You know, which is partly why I object to the notion of the patriarchy, because it's a it's the what do you call that? It's the apprehension of a mythological trope, which is that of the evil tyrant, without any appreciation for the fact that the archetype actually has two parts, and the other part is the wise king. And you know, you can tell an evil tyrant story about culture, no problem, but it's one-sided, and that's very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think we're discarding the scientific method as a whole,
all the good things that you have while you're criticizing all the ways that things are in
Cigarette is
error.
a fallacy.
That's a lack of gratitude.
No, I'm discarding the popular science that literally is so falsified. I'm not discarding the scientific method.
And it's a lack of wisdom, and it's founded in resentment, and it's very dangerous.
I needed to use it in order
personally
to
and
discard
socially.
the fake one, so can discard it.
I told you that Captain Hook is a tyrant because he's got this crocodile chasing him, and the crocodile has a clock in its stomach, and that's...
I've never seen this art on the left. Have you guys ever seen this before? Is this a depiction of Satan? What is this a depiction of? I've never seen this before. It feels like a classic painting that maybe is popular, but I wonder why I've never seen it before. It's so disturbing.
It's death. It's like, obviously, right? Tick, 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 tick. And it's a crocodile, and it's under the water, and it's already got a taste of him, so he's being chased around by death, and that makes him terrified and resentful and cruel and bitter, and so he's a tyrant. And he wants to wreak havoc everywhere. And then Peter Pan, of course, looks at Captain Hook and thinks, why the hell should I grow up and to be a tyrant and sacrifice all the potential of childhood?
I see why you would see that.
Yeah. The potential sacrifices itself if you don't utilize it as you mature, and you just end up a 40-year-old lost boy, which is a horrifying thing to behold. It's almost as if you're the corpse of a child, the living corpse of a child, because who the hell wants a 6-year-old, 40-year-old? You're a little on the stale side by that point, and not the world's happiest individual.
Yeah.
So, you know, your potential is going to disappear because you age anyways, and so you might as well shape that potential in a particular direction and at least become something, no matter how limited, rather than nothing. So,
yeah. And
you know, Peter Pan, that's a great story. It's a great mythological story. So, well, so let's talk about tyrants. Well, not only are they mythological figures, but they exist, and they tend to be deified. I mean, Stalin was, for all intents and purposes, God the Father in Soviet Russia, although he was pretty much only the worst elements of Old Testament God, who was, you know, constantly smiting people and wiping out populations and doing all sorts of things that seemed to be quite nasty. But nonetheless, you know, people worshipped him in many ways.
This was at the time that Jordan Peterson was not a believer,
he's a representation of just exactly what goes wrong when things really go wrong, when people stop paying attention and when they all lie, because one of the things that characterized the communist state was that no one ever got to say anything they actually believed, ever. And that was partly because 1 out of 3 people was an informer, which meant if you had a family of 6 people, 2 of them were informing on the government about you, and that included your own children.
That happened in Bulgaria as well, by the way.
And if you were an informer, you were often amply rewarded by the state, so that if you lived in an overcrowded apartment...
Like, my parents used to listen to the radio, like, on the long waves of the radio, not the short ones, the AMs, just to catch some song by the Beatles or something in English, because everything was so freaking controlled. And if they caught you listening to outside world music, you would get in such trouble. Like, people would inform on such things. Your neighbors would inform on you.
Building with 3 families in the
about
same
just listening
flat,
to
and
music.
you informed on, you know, the woman down the hall that you didn't like, she got shipped off to the old concentration camp, and you got her apartment. And so that was a lovely society, and it only killed about 30 million people between 1919 and 1959. So that's what happens when the archetypal structure gets tilted badly, when people forget that they have a responsibility to fulfill as citizens, as awake citizens who are capable of stating the truth. And the archetype
we only
shifts,
broke
so
the communism scheme in like 89, I think. 1989. Yeah.
There's nothing left of the great father except the tyrant, and let's not have that happen. I mean, the one on the right is really interesting, because consciously or unconsciously, you know, there's Stellan surrounded by what is, for all intents and purposes, fire. You know, he looks like Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty when she shows up at Aurora's christening. You know, she puts her arms up in the air and green fire surrounds her. It's like he's surrounded by fire, and there's Lenin above him, who's like king of the fiery realm, and that's for sure. So I mean, all the terrors that happened in the Soviet Union didn't start under Stalin, they started under Lenin, and Stalin was definitely Lenin's legitimate son, let's put it that way.
So this has been incredibly interesting to me. I hope you guys enjoyed at least some of this stream. Let me know if you would like me to never have any streams like that ever again, or if maybe you enjoyed it and you would like maybe more, or just doing that again sometime. I would like to know how you guys feel about this, because I don't want to stream things that you don't enjoy, obviously. Back with my food! Seems I've missed a lot. Oh, we went astray a little bit from the psychopath topic, but it was very interesting to me. I hope you enjoyed some of it.